I think I messed that up pretty badly. Yep. Yep, I did. Um, oh my god. uh, yeah, that was my bad. I tried to hit the start streaming button, and then it registered as a double click, ended the stream, and then wouldn't let me rejoin it, saying I had a duplicate stream key. So, yeah, technical problems with Joe Magician. Woo! I just remade it real fast. Sorry about that, guys. That was a that was unfortunate. There were some super chats there, and I lost them forever. So, thank you for those. I have no idea what they said anymore. They're just gone into the ether. They are like Alice Rivers walking behind Simon Strong. Magic. Just completely gone. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Joe47. We lost a lot of comments there, so everyone just remember what you said and then say it again. But make sure you do it in the right order. So, like, coordinate with each other. This person said this person said this, somebody said this funny thing, someone said this thing people ignored, someone said a funny thing, then an insightful thing. So, you guys can work that out, right? Yeah, no problem. I think you got it. I think you can nail it. Um, so, which controversial thing will we start with today? There's so many of them. Um, so many. I assume Twitter's just on fire at the moment. I mean, it was earlier today anyway. By the way, way to go for this guy uploading a video 20 minutes before Joe Biden drops out of the presidential race. Things are not going good for me today. Yeah, there's a video out today. If one of the mods want to grab it and throw it in the chat, I put out a video about if Alice River is a ghost or not. Obviously not. I mean, I knew that when I made it because I watched the episodes, but this episode definitively Alice River's not a ghost. Not a ghost. She is real. But yeah, between it was kind of funny. I was thinking back about the episode and all the things that happened. And I was like, boy, they put a lot of stuff in here for me, and I feel like the stuff they put in there for me is going to get completely overshadowed by all the other things that happen in this episode. So, okay, so let's just start there. Let's just go to this. So let's talk Nettles. Oh, Jason B. The reason there's so few likes and so few people is I accidentally ended the stream and had to remake a new one. So yeah, whoops-a-daisy. If you guys could all slam that like button if you could. Sorry about baiting you all. That was my bad. So let's talk about the Sheepstealer in the room, as it were. Oh, by the way, obviously for spoilers for everybody, I'm going to talk about a few things that are spoilers from the books, but not too far in advance, just enough to talk about this stuff. But there will be some spoilers in this discussion. So, Nettles. If for those of you that aren't aware, because maybe you haven't read Fire and Blood, which is fair, it's not a fun read. It's a long history lesson. part of Rhaenyra's plan for getting more dragon riders is that she opens up the dragons on Dragonstone, tongue twister, for basically anybody to give it a shot. If you can jump on a dragon, it's yours. As we saw with Stefan Darklin in this episode, didn't go awesome. One of the characters that claims a dragon is a character named Nettles, who's a girl from Driftmark. And she ends up out of nowhere. They haven't even mentioned the wild dragons in this episode. She listed Vermithor, Seasmoke, and Silverwing. No thought of the 3 wild dragons. Nettles unbelievably tames one of the wild dragons, the one known as Sheepstealer, which is why that's what this is. All of the dead sheep in the Vale, and the conversation between Rhaena and Lady Jane saying, "Oh, there's a large dragon here. You didn't tell me about that. What's going on with that? You lied to me." And Jane's like, from a certain point of view, I lied to you. So this puts Sheepstealer not on Dragonstone, but in the Vale, which is quite a ways away. And it turns out this is the thing George was complaining about in his blog when he was talking about, like, dragons aren't nomadic. They stay near volcanoes. They would never go anywhere. Rah, 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 rah. This is obviously what he was referring to. He was referring to the fact that the show has Sheepstealer in the Vale. Now, the explanation they gave is that there wasn't enough food on Dragonstone. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. The dragons have been way more active than they ever have been in the past. They're going to war. They're fighting each other. They're doing all these scouting missions. Even before Maelys died, like, there was the line about Rhaenys said, I have to gorge, and so does Maelys. So they are, and the dragons we've seen primarily eat sheep is the primary food they're being given. So the supply of sheep around Blackwater Bay and the Dragonmont is going way down. Presumably, people are sending sheep to the Dragonmont as well for their dragons. Sheepstealer is getting hungry, and Sheepstealer, as the name goes, only likes sheep. That's its whole thing. Loves sheep. It's like one of those picky kids who wouldn't eat anything but like chicken nuggets as a kid. That's Sheepstealer's whole deal, which, by the way, you guys will learn about later this week when I put out a video talking about the wild dragons. I profile each one of them, personalities, history, previous riders, etc. Sheepstealer is a part of it. So their explanation is that Sheepstealer has left the Dragonmont from lack of food, which, with the scenario they set up, yeah, makes sense. If there's Sheepstealer is a big dragon. A very big dragon. Not like the biggest, but pretty huge. And if there's not enough food around and the wild dragons don't get fed by the dragon keepers, then yeah, it kind of makes sense that Sheepstealer would go where there's a lot of sheep, which is, I guess, the Vale. That is pretty far away, though, and the Vale's pretty cold. So, okay. So that's what Sheepstealer's doing in the Vale. That's their explanation. Fine, I guess. If they set it up over like 5 episodes, if you're going to put in that effort to make sure Sheepstealer goes there, cool, fine, whatever. I get George's point that the dragons like staying near volcanoes and they like being hot. I get what he's saying. I think the explanation is that Sheepstealer has not permanently moved to the Vale. This is like a hunting trip, more or less. So the bigger problem is that I mentioned the character Nettles. So Nettles is not in the Vale. Nettles is a character, I believe, from Driftmark who goes to Dragonstone with the rest of the potential riders, essentially, and tamed Sheepstealer by unclear methods. There's 2 stories given in the books. There's one story that she basically gave Sheepstealer so many sheep that the 2 of them just fell in draconic love, and they were best friends, and they stayed together forever. The other one is that Nettles is a secret Targaryen dragon seed, a bastard, basically. The Targaryens are so cool. They get awesome names for their bastards. They're not bastard children. They're dragonseeds. So ridiculous. Anyway, that's the other explanation, that somehow Nettles must be a dragonseed, and that's how she tamed Sheepstealer, and the character has become a focus point in people arguing about the nitty-gritty of the magic in George's world, because if she just tamed a dragon by giving it a lot of sheep and making it like her, couldn't anybody do it? And it ends up being quite a divide in the fandom about what is the truth of Nettles, and it's not literally in the book. In Fire and Blood, it just goes like, I don't know, could be anybody. Also, by the way, yeah, slam that like button. Thank you all that did. Sorry about baiting you with all the fake live stream. The other thing that Nettles gets is a particularly fervent but kind of niche fandom, because she's not a character that has a massive role in the stuff to come. The biggest thing she does is that she ends up being kind of the touch point for Rhaenyra to stop trusting the Dragonstone, the dragonseeds, and she also kind of, there's rumors about her relationship with the Daemon, but the long and the short of it is that her and Daemon end up just sort of like traveling everywhere together. One explanation is that it's a sexual relationship. The other one, it's like he treats her like his daughter. And it ends up creating a lot of paranoia, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So Nettles has a pretty strong fandom, especially from people who, this is the other part of it, she's one of the few canonically characters of color in Fire and Blood. It's noted that she is. And not only that, but she's apparently a commoner that took a dragon. So there's a lot of people that have a lot of personal stake in her, which of course makes sense. So what they're doing here, and I don't know if they're actually cutting the character or not. It seems like if Sheepstealer's in the Vale, and if you take the plot line from Nettles that Daemon treats her like a daughter and not the one where they are rumored to have sex because they like bathe together or something like that, then you can sort of see how they may have smushed Rhaena and Nettles together. That Rhaena is going to get Nettles' storyline or parts of it, and she's going to get Sheepstealer. And they've set up quite a lot of things for how I think they're going to make up the parts in between. Like, for instance, well, how much do I want to spoil here? Yeah, she's a commoner. It's a lot like Rey in the new Star Wars movies, where a lot of people liked her to be Rey Nobody. They liked the idea of the Force going to somebody that didn't have magical blood. Of course, they ruined that in the later movies when they said, by the way, you're a Palpatine. So I guess this is Rhaena Palpatine. That's kind of what the Rey, not Rey. I'm just so smart. So that's obviously going to piss some people off, because there are a sizable amount of people that feel that Nettles is their favorite character in the dance. Which, yeah, it sucks to have them cut, especially if she's going to get, although she wouldn't be, I guess, kind of cut, she'd be merged with Rhaena, but they have such different backgrounds. Yeah, I'm not really sure. It definitely could be, they still could bring back Nettles. This doesn't mean she's definitely cut, but it is weird to have Sheepstealer in the Vale with Rhaena, and multiple times in the last few episodes they've been like, Rhaena tried to claim dragons and it didn't work. It's like, oh, that's what we're doing here. I guess it kind of matters which parts of Nettles that you really want to see adapted. If you're looking for the commoner among the Valyrian gods, Rhaena won't get that. If you're looking for kind of a scrappy Smallfolk who kind of sticks it to the nobility, I guess Adam will do that too. Adam Velaryon, he got Seasmoke this episode, but you won't be getting that from Rhaena, and because obviously she's super highborn. Um, if you're looking for Nettles to have the character role where she's doing those parts with Daemon, where it's like maybe there could be a connection between the two of them, where Rhaena has been largely ignored by Daemon, and they had Lena's hallucination or ghost say like, have you looked after our girls, that may be hinting at that they're going to have Rhaena and Daemon hook back up. Poor choice of words. They're going to have them connect more as father and daughter, and they will do all the things that Nettles and Daemon did. And I'm guessing Rhaena's supposed to go on the ship the Gay abandoned with the two sons to Pentos. If she gets a dragon, she's not going there. So it could make some sense that like her abandoning Viserys and Aegon to grab a dragon against Rhaenyra's orders could be the thing that makes them basically clash, I guess, along with her aligning herself with Daemon. Very poor choice. Listen, things just kind of just flow out of my mouth, and I forget sometimes I'm talking about Targaryens, and yeah. Things I normally wouldn't worry about when you're talking about a father and daughter, you do worry about because Targaryens. So I am definitely sympathetic to the people that really, really love Nettles for kind of her background and her identity and the sort of scrappy commoner against nobility angle. I'm guessing they're just going to give that to Adam, who got Seasmoke. And they're just going to split Nettles in two, more or less. And they're going to give the Daemon plotline to Rhaena, assuming she's cut, which we don't know that yet. But I think that's what they're going to do. And yeah, I can certainly understand why people are not excited about that. I'm kind of curious to see how it goes. Like, Rhaena as a character really does nothing during the dance. It's only during in the far future that she really does anything. She kind of sits in the Vale and goes to jousts and meets a dude. And that's kind of the end of her story. So what they're going to be doing here is instead they're going to be developing Rhaena's character much more and giving her a relationship to Daemon, which, I don't know. I think that could be really interesting to see. That would be something. They've sort of played that up this entire season, and last season it's like, what Daemon's not being a particularly good father to them, what will make him actually take his daughter seriously? Well, Rhaena and Sheepstealer could be something that does that, something they finally connect over. Not sure about Vale, kind of hanging her out to dry, but yeah, so I think that's what's going on. Whew. That was the Nettles stuff. Sheepstealer lives at the end of the dance, so does Rhaena. Rhaena lives through the whole thing. So yeah, I guess it depends to me the quality of what they're going to do with it. Like, if the Rhaena and Daemon stuff is not compelling and it's not anything particularly interesting, then I'm going to be less happy about Nettles being cut. And the same thing applies to Adam. If they don't have him do anything with that role, then that will also be not super cool. But I think I think you have to wait and see. But I think I've said it like 4 times. All my sympathy to the Nettles stands out there. I feel your pain. I'm curious what they'll do before I decide it's the worst thing in the world. I would personally, based on what we've seen in the show, I would personally like to see them develop Rhaena as a character, someone we've gotten to know, rather than do a hard switch to a brand new introduction in Nettles. But clearly they made that decision a long time ago. She may still be there, but you never know. Book readers must be so upset after that episode. Book reader, not upset. Read Fire and Blood a few times. Well, at least the Dance of the Dragons part. I am not upset. I was talking to a friend of mine about this who had also seen the episode early, and this is not everyone shares my opinion, obviously. My opinion on changes from particularly Fire and Blood to show really don't bother me because there is so much that's uncertain in it. Like in that video I posted today, I posted that quote about Daemon and Alicent, and the book because basically goes like, well, I guess nothing happened because Daemon was fine afterwards. And meanwhile, we're getting an entire Daemon losing his mind arc. And there's like three different versions of most things that happen. And it's like, it's a choose your own adventure anyway. I care if the changes they make are good. If they change it and it sucks, then I'm less happy or unhappy. But the idea that something being changed from Fire and Blood, as uncertain as it is, and also it doesn't really, like, it's an adaptation. It's not meant to be, like, if you want to, this is a mini rant, but if you want to see Fire and Blood on the screen, then I don't know, like, listen to the audiobook. It's never going to happen. I just hope it's good, and I hope that the Nettles fans out there find something in Rhaena and Adam to kind of hold on to. It would suck to get your favorite character cut and the replacements to be bad. So fingers crossed they do a good job. Oh yes, thank you for the link to the video, Curtis Franks. Hey guys, slam that like button. We're just getting going. We're going to start at the top with like the hot topic things, and we'll... Hot topic things? What am I, tween? And then we'll go through the rest of them. I think the other thing that a lot of people are talking about... there was a big smoocherooski, if that's a word. I'm not sure it is. Between Mysaria and Rhaenyra. So, I am sure this is the other thing Twitter is on fire with at the moment. Let me talk about something in the chat. Word about the dragon lore and what happens with mourning, and also there's stuff with Seasmoke, and yes. So I think we'll talk about Seasmoke when we get to Adam. In terms of what happens with mourning, so that's supposed to be Rhaena's dragon. If she gets Sheepstealer, what's going to happen with that dragon? Unclear. It seems like they've cut a bunch of dragons anyway. Like, I don't think there's quite as many in the dragon pit as there should be. I don't know if we're going to get Grey Ghost and the Cannibal. Like, they don't do anything. Well, kind of. If we're going to get, what is it, Shrikos? Dreamfire hasn't been seen since season 1. Yeah. Okay, so the kiss scene around the world, I guess. So this wasn't actually the kiss I thought was coming this episode. I thought they were going to have Daemon and Alice make out, because they had a lot of scenes where the two of them ended up like this, like right next to each other, and Gale Rankin was putting on the pouty lips, and Daemon was just like out of his mind and not sure what's going on. I'm like, I think they're gonna make out. Are they gonna make? I think they're gonna make out. They didn't, and instead went this way, and we got Mysaria and Rhaenyra. So I was confused when I first saw this, and I was like, I think I missed something. What happened with Why did I not see this coming? I missed it completely. Oh, thank you. Yes, Adelstan. You can't cut our Lord and Master Cannibal. You just can't. I don't know if I can put Cannibal in. Like, he doesn't do anything. He's just like, which is a good thing, because in my video coming out later this week talking about the Cannibal, I think I spend 10 minutes talking about just the Cannibal, a dragon that may not show up. So, JoeMagician things. So yes, I did miss something. I forgot that there were rumors in Fire and Blood that Mysaria and Rhaenyra were hooking up. And I talked to Ashay at History of Westeros, and I was like, well, I was talking to Aziz and Ashay, and I was like, guys, what was going on there. And Aziz told me, oh, Shaya got it right away. I'm like, oh, okay, Shaya, give me the goss. What did I miss here? I think I missed a lot of things. And this is actually the thing that got me on TikTok. Because Shaya sent me like 15 fan cams of Mysaria and Rhaenyra, like, and it was actually super interesting for me. I don't like digest fan cams, but it was super interesting to seeing like all the moments put up between them with like emphasis put on them with music and like color and like the way that they were like feet like putting in the cameras and stuff like that, where I was like, oh, I was literally the guy that was like, oh, they're just good friends. That was me. I completely swung and missed. I totally forgot about this subplot from Fire and Blood. I missed the hints. I thought they were just becoming best buds, best gal pals. And yeah, so that was embarrassing for me. But also, thank you, fan cams of TikTok. You actually, you basically laid out in extensive detail every hint of the two characters, kind of all their flirting and the cute little moments and stuff like that. And I was just like, I got it now. So I was thinking about who's angrier right now. Is it Rhaenyra Alicent shippers? Is it Rhaenyra Daemon shippers? I imagine the Rhaenyra Alicent shippers are pretty upset right now that that's not Alicent. They want that to be Alicent. Place your bets. Who's angrier in the fandom right now about this? Oh, I'm sorry. I left out reactionaries that don't like seeing women cuss because they're fucking weird. But yeah, I think Rhaenyra shippers are probably the most angry at seeing this. It almost makes me want to go into Stan Twitter. Almost. But I'm not. Because I'm not insane. Yeah, I totally missed this one. That is not what I read in those scenes, and that totally happens. The chemistry and the all that stuff completely over my head. Sometimes that happens when you got the Larys Alice blinders on and you're just like going, like zooming in on everything they say. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was, looking back at the setup for it that I had missed, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Oh, they're bonding over this. Oh, they're bonding over that. Oh, they're kind of swimming around each other. It's like kind of bonding over their shitty exes sort of thing. It's like, oh. And especially this episode, there was the thing where Rhaenyra was holding a sword, and Mysaria said it was very becoming of her, and Rhaenyra went like, oh no, and put down the sword and walked away, like, embarrassed by it. It's like, all right, that was kind of cute. Are that they're not falling in love, they're just consoling each other in their loneliness. Yeah, probably. Who knows where this goes? I don't remember where this goes, so I can't predict it. But yeah. Interesting that they had Rhaenyra say out loud, more or less, that she probably wished she had made out with Alicent, like a long time ago. Her thing about she wanted to be free and she wanted to be dangerous, and kind of they did a lot of, I don't want to be bound by my position, I want to be bound by my identity anymore. And yeah, that was kind of cool. Thumbs up. Thank you again. Thank you, TikTok fan cams, for educating a moron who completely missed the whole thing. Apparently, there's been an entire community of Mysaria shippers, and I just completely miss them. I think I swim in different circles than a lot of people. I don't really interact with shippers or stan Twitter unless they find something I wrote, and then they lose their minds at me. So yeah. So that was kind of cool. Hey, bookshelf stud. R.E. Larys Alice. It's cool it's cool to contrast Larys's cynical bonding with Mysaria's genuine bonding. Interesting. So you didn't read Larys as being genuine. I I wonder if that was a bit of a Cersei moment for Larys, that he was using genuine feelings for gain. Because that was the most heartfelt thing he has said. It was actually a lot of lines he said in a row. And seemed right from the heart. Convinced Aegon, I guess, who didn't really have a choice. Him just like sitting there moaning, going like, drugs, drugs, give me the drugs. Kind of held him hostage with that one, but held him hostage with an honestly moving speech about why Larys is such a monster, or how he sort of justifies what he does. Using pain for cynical gain. You always knew how to turn a phrase there, Michael. So yeah, let's just talk about that while we're here. Let me grab. Let's talk about Larys and our boy Aegon. It is interesting that the only time Larys has opened up truly to anybody in this entire series is Aegon, who shares, I guess his disability at this point. Aegon's leg has been shattered, but not only that, as Larys calls it, like a deformity. Also, interesting to note, in this episode, there was a maid there who wanted to give Aegon the milk of the poppy. To link back to something earlier in the episode, Aemond basically told Orwyle, drug that guy to the gills. I want him out. I want to be king. You make him unconscious as much as you can. And Orwyle was like, my liege, sure, I'll do it. Maid was going to do it. Larys overrules. Haha. Bringing back the stuff from earlier this season. The idea that Larys has replaced much of the castle staff, or he's intimidated them, then murdered a whole bunch of them, and he can now order around, or order above, basically what the Prince Regent says, by extension through Orwyle. They're listening to Larys, not them. So here's the entire speech from Larys, which I thought was wonderful and fantastically delivered by Matthew Needham. This is what he says. The drink takes the pain away, but it dulls your mind. Oh, what did he say? Take something, your grace. You've already written yourself into legend. You survived Dragonfire, but I'm afraid you'll never be whole. Orwyle has exhausted his abilities. He's bound your leg, but you will never run again. Your mind is all that remains to you, and I do not say that gladly. I came screaming into the world in the bowels of one of Harren's great towers. My lungs were strong. Hey! He said the thing. But my foot so twisted that my father named it sorcery. Here's the line. Accusing a member of our household of casting malign spells. Hey, Alice. Casting malign spells on Larys when he was born, huh? Interesting. Playing with the midichlorians or something like that? Huh. Well, people will pity you either behind your back or in your presence, and they will stare at you or turn away, and they will underestimate you, and this will be your advantage. Then Aegon just goes, no, no. Larys says, your brother rules in your place, which means your life is in danger, but I think you know that. Aegon, who previously lied to Aemond that he doesn't know that Aemond tried to kill him and failed, just says, help me. So, Larys just does one of these. People in the chat, when was the last time Larys made that exact face? It's an important one. It was an important moment. Let's see. Does anybody remember when Larys did his no blinking, full stare, head askew look? Green Seer Gang, that's right. Harrenhal does really mess people up. That is true. That's right, Tanya. When he killed his family. The last time that Larys gave that exact look was when he was talking to Alicent, and she was talking about how she wanted Otto back. And Larys just kind of cocked his head and stared at her, and then he murdered his entire family. Or at least Harwin and Lionel. Apparently he didn't think it was worth his time to kill Simon and the boys and Alice. Yeah. So... yeah. You don't ask Larys Strong for help. I think we have learned that pretty well. That asking Larys for help usually leads to complete mayhem, murder, torture, whatever. Larys does not... when you ask him for help, he will decide for you what that help means. And you will not like the consequences. It's like when Alicent was on the boat on the way back from Driftmark, and she had to very carefully say, no, Larys, I don't want that. Do not carve that kid's eye out. Don't do it. What is he going to do for Aegon now? Because he has clearly interpreted what has just been said to him as, help me in whatever way you can, whatever your imagination says. This is going to be troublesome. Oh, $5 from Sanrixian. Larys, no blinking, full stare, head look, saved under rat files. Oh, another one for another clip. Starting to think that Larys is working to get Aegon and Helena out of King's Landing. Yep, that could be part of it. There's also a lot of civil unrest about to happen. And Larys, I'm sure, hasn't noticed it's going on. And it more or less a thing from Fire and Blood that there's kind of competing factions, it seems, within King's Landing. Things rise to a complete mania. That the kindling that Mysaria and Rhaenyra have laid, and they have lit a torch to, burns the entire city, metaphorically, although not that metaphorically in some cases. Larys is taking the gloves off. He's gonna do whatever he can to help Aegon, and specifically, based on what he said, undermine Aemond. So I'm also wondering if people are gonna start getting a lot of rumors about, like, hey, what'd you see happen at Rook's Rest? I saw Vhagar breathing fire, and look, the king is burned. Huh. Something like that. He's gonna start, and there's the rumors already that basically people are unhappy with Aemond already. They're unhappy he shut the gates. Sylvie and Ulf and Diana are, well, Diana and Sylvie are spreading the rumors about Aemond eating banquets every night, and they're like, oh, how could he? He's always so right and proper. So I think we're gonna find ourselves in a situation where Mysaria and Larys are going for Aemond. Also fun to note that had Aemond not insulted Larys and kind of took his legs out from under him and basically embarrassed him in front of the small council, Larys right here could very easily make a problem go away. He has control of the maids. He's clearly overriding medicine. He could probably make it so Aegon just dies quietly and Aemond ascends the throne. Aemond has made a dangerous enemy here by refusing Larys's overtures, which is kind of similar to what happened to Alicent, where she got in way over her head too fast. She took a gift, and then he never stopped asking for it back. Bummer on that one. Oh, yes, so the stuff about, you guys are talking about Alice and Larys. So the idea that Lionel Strong, when Larys was born, he accused a member of his family of performing sorcery, casting a spell on Larys to lead to his deformed clubfoot. So this is one of those things where there's not really magic in that sense. Like, you can't cast spells in A Song of Ice and Fire. In Westeros in general, in the way that, like, there's no swishing of a wand and saying magic words and then something happens. So the idea would be, it's being inferred here that Alice had some part in making Larys who he is. That's kind of the base message of that story, and you can kind of extrapolate from there. Larys didn't say a member of the family. Yes, he did. He said accusing a member of our household of casting malign spells. Oh, I guess that could mean household Alice Rivers. Yeah, I think that's very clearly pointing at Alice, though. Member of the household, Alice Rivers, who knows how long she's been there. So if you're accusing Alice of having something to do with making him, this sort of gets into the whole green seer skin changer stuff that's going on with that I've been speculating about for a while. Could Alice have some hand in making him who he is? At a basic level, it could be. Like, the stuff we've seen her doing to Daemon, the way she's messing with his mind, the dreams, the making sure he can't sleep, kind of confronting him with his worst nightmares, kind of molding him into the piece on the board, as she describes him. She could definitely have done that with Larys Strong. And if there's some sort of magic going on with Larys, it would make a lot of sense that the local green seer that's posing as a famed healer in the Riverlands, that was an interesting line, could have had something to do with it. I also talked about it two videos ago now, that it probably is Larys's bed that Daemon is sleeping in. At least maybe since childhood, but definitely since his father died. That's the Lord's room. With the weirwood bed. So they're not going to put Daemon in just any room. They're going to put him in the best room. So that's Larys's room. Interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm curious where we're going to go with this, because in the last few episodes we've had Larys not directly, but letting people know that he's aware of the dark spirits or whatever, and dark magics at Harrenhal, and that it can drive people into madness. We see Alicent doing it. You connect the dots. He's talking about Alicent. Now we have him talking about her even more and kind of blaming her for his lot in life. Because obviously it could be anybody in the household, but we've met 2 named characters in the household, Simon, Alice. One of them's magic, so we're talking about Alice by process of elimination. I think we're going to learn in the next few episodes, and possibly when someone else comes to Harrenhal, that we're going to learn more about this relationship between the 2 of them. That Larys and Alice have some kind of relationship. Probably bad. I'm going to guess a very bad one. My instinct is that we're going to find out that Larys's bad feelings about Harrenhal and his decision basically to never go back is either out of fear or hate of Alice herself and what she does to him whenever he walks into the walls. Messing with his mind, setting him in dreams, who knows? All this other kind of stuff. But also interesting that we're learning stuff about Lyonel Strong here. So if you work this backwards, Alice seems to have some kind of role in making Larys who he is. I mean, that's the point of the story at a basic level. She's behind making this identity of the Clubfoot. So the idea that Lyonel takes Harwin and Larys to King's Landing may have been almost an act of mercy on his 2 sons to get him away from that place. Get them away from her. Curious that nobody seems to be able to fire Alice. Nobody wants to get rid of her. Simon calls her a famed healer, but woods witches are not in castles. This stuff doesn't happen. There's some craziness going on that we're not being told about the 2 of them. George Fraley, do you think Alice has visited the Isle of Faces? How else will she know how to make weirwood paste? I would guess she has. The stories that when people try to make it to the Isle of Faces is that crazy winds kind of pop up and ravens attack them when they try and get too close. Alice is outed as a skin changer in this one and also a greenseer. So I'm guessing that she's allowed to go to the Isle of Faces to commune with the old gods. So yeah, she probably has been to the Isle of Faces. There's also the suggestion that I talked about in my video from Gail Rankin where she said Alice could be like 400 years old. Well, if you work backwards, that means she would have been at the Isle of Faces and the Weirwood Grove that Harrenhal was built on before it was built. Because it's only 150 years old. So it's entirely possible that Alice has been living around the God's Eye and that forest and, you know, the Isle of Faces for a lot longer than that castle has been there. Which again makes me wonder if she actually is a member of House Strong. Could just be a cover. She just like pretends to be a member of whatever house shows up. But yeah, definitely. There's a definite possibility, I would say a very strong possibility, that has happened. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. So as a part of a bet with with Joanna Robinson at the Ringer, I had to buy a rat. So I picked an albino rat with red eyes, named him Brendan, the albino rat, and has to stay in the background when I go on stream so that people can see it. And she has a matching one in the Ringer studio if you guys can find it. They named it something. I'm not even sure what the name means, but they gave it a name. On the House of R, I think is where you can see it. But yeah. Brendan the albino rat. So there you go. Sitting right there. We both somehow lost the bet, so we both ended up buying rats. But yeah, I'm really, really curious to seeing how they're going to develop this relationship, and especially the idea that they're putting them in parallel to each other. everything that just happened that I talked about with Aegon and Larys here was mirrored at Harrenhal between Alicent and Daemon. Actually, let's go ahead and just pop over there now. We're kind of going out of order, but that's for fun. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. All right. Where are we at? All right. Alice the Greenseer, Alice the Skin Changer. I mean, they talked about it in that behind the episodes thing about Harrenhal. They literally named her a possible Greenseer, and this is just the icing on the cake here. She just has an owl hanging out, a trained owl for no reason, and she said she's an owl trapped in human form. Skin changer stuff. They say that kind of crap all the time. Now she literally has a pet owl that just kind of shows up at her hand for kind of no reason. So yeah, if you weren't sure before, if you're like, I don't know, I think Matt's got off his rocker with that one. I'm not sure if Alice is really a skin changer and a Greenseer. This episode, like, just buried the implausibility. They are making her this, which I think is really cool. So to go back to, let's see here. Where are you? Daemon and Alice. So it actually starts out with, the thing I think most people were extremely excited for. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can drag this back into frame. Whoop. No, I cannot. Great, I've just messed it up more. All right, so you can sort of not see him. But that is... actually, I'm just going to choose a different picture. One that actually like, kind of shows him. I was doing these kind of fast. Yeah, so I got Paddy Considine's head. I need to take better screenshots. So Daemon's dream this episode, he has 2 of them, and both of them are involving Viserys. Paddy Considine's back, Return of the King, absolutely love it. Great performance from Paddy. It actually made, I was like, oh, he's back. You don't know how much you miss him until he's gone. It's like, I really do miss his presence on the show. He did such a great job before. He does a great job here. I think he actually replays the conversation they had in episode 1, where Paddy yells at him for saying the heir for a day, and Daemon, of course, basically confirms it. Viserys yells, "Did you say it? The heir for the day, did you say it?" And Daemon's response in his dream is like, "Oh my god, you can't possibly still be angry about this." Meaning, yes, Daemon did say it. Same as the thing with blood and cheese. He definitely said prince for prince or whatever it was. So yes. So this stuff is really interesting. It starts off with basically a recreation of that entire scene, but the end of it ends up being different. Daemon, he's yelling at him saying, "You have no allies but court but me. I have only ever defended you, and everything I give you, you throw in my face. I've decided to make a new heir. You are to return to Runestone your lady life at once, to do so without quarrel by order of your king." In episode 1, basically Daemon storms out. No, he approaches the throne, and the Kingsguard go like, hey, and then he leaves. He's very, 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 very angry. Oh, heir for a day, king for a day, whichever one it was. This time, what Daemon does is he corrects his mistake as he feels it. Instead, he walks up to him and tries to embrace his brother. He starts tearing up. He has an emotional connection between the 2 of them that wasn't there the first time, which is kind of interesting. The previous dreams have been largely showing things that he's ashamed of, and then he kind of like acts out in a wild way. Like he decapitated Rhaenyra in one of his dreams. He chases Aemond himself, which was kind of weird, brings him right to Alice. And then you get the what are the other ones? He really regrets the one with Alyssa, with his mom. He freaks out when that one has it. When he realizes who she is, he goes like, oh, oh, oh. He does the full Jack Torrance when he wakes up from his dream. And he's like, oh no, I dreamed about killing you. A lot of The Shining in this. This time, though, instead of giving into kind of his instincts, Daemon's instinct in this moment was just to be mad at him and slink away and do rogue prince things. This time he changes it. This time he fixes. And he tries to connect with Viserys and, you know, not be a craphead this time. Although it's interesting, the dream doesn't want him to. I don't know if you guys caught this at the end of it. So Daemon he's leaving Viserys weeping in the throne, and he gets the doors, and the doors won't open. And Daemon starts shouting, let me out, let me out. He's pushing on the door. It won't yield, it won't yield. And I think what you're supposed to read into this is that Daemon, in his dream state, is remembering the last time he was in the throne room with somebody, and it was Rhaenyra. And Daemon's kind of like, I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to do to him what I did to Rhaenyra. That was a mistake when I did it. I just want to love my brother. I want to have this tender moment. And he feels sort of, I think this is the most blatant insertion. If you're looking for like, is Alice messing with his dreams? Those doors, I'm pretty sure those were, I mean, Daemon was literally like wandering around the castle while this was happening. But I think if you're looking for kind of like a Inception level, like somebody changed something, him not being able to leave the throne room is probably Alice's influence to sort of make him confront Viserys and not run away from it. Because she says that line in like 2 scenes where she says, hang on. It is your way, is it not? When something does not please you, you run. So she's referencing the referencing Viserys in the throne room. She knows everything. She knows what's going on. She knows his dreams. And I think the part that was really, I don't know what to make of this part. So, oh, hang on, wrong one. Let's go backwards one. So this is the scene that really, really confused me, and I've been trying to talk to people about it, and I don't know what to make of it. So Daemon bursts through the door. He comes out of his dream, and Simon's in front of him. And Daemon says, what are you playing at, old man? Simon says, I do wonder, your grace, if you're getting enough sleep. And Daemon says, are you mocking me? And he says, are you a culprit who has been tampering with my peace, a friend by day and a foe by night? Simon says, to what end? He says, to mine, perhaps. And he draws a dagger and he puts it at Simon's throat. And he says, perhaps you resent me being here. Perhaps you are an agent of Hightower rabble in league with your club-footed nephew, or is it Rhaenyra herself? Daemon then says, whatever your game is, Strong, I assure you your king is on guard. And then he yells, stop watching me. And then he goes out and talks to Alice in the courtyard and says, there's something wrong with me. Someone poisoned me, the food, the wine, or else it is the swamp air. So the thing that's confusing to me is, why doesn't he remember Alice giving him that drink? The one that set off his hallucinations. The one that made him basically wake up 2 days later having like, or however long it was, waking up at a council table not remembering how he got there. I'm really curious about these two lines. Why isn't he identifying it's Alice? I mean, he literally says it. Somebody that's an ally by day and someone messing with me by night. Alice multiple times has told him and actually kind of thrown it in his face. Hey, I know what you're dreaming about. Hey, gotcha, Daemon. The thing about his mom, the thing about where he knows about his relationship with Rhaenyra and how he wants to push his claim as king and all this other stuff. Like she knows him way too well, and for some reason, Daemon's not putting this together. But he's not just not putting it together. He's like straight up forgetting things that have happened. So I'm kind of two minds about this. Actually, that's funny, Mallory. He's not that smart. He's a wee bit thick. That could be true. So one thing that's going on is that Daemon is losing memories, or he sort of says he doesn't remember. He's having trouble telling the difference between reality and the dream. I talked about that in my video today, talking about how they're deliberately making it confusing for the viewer as well, that they're not giving you a lot of they're not giving you any anchors to be like, this one's definitely a dream, this one's definitely real, except for like Simon showing up afterwards. So option one, Daemon is losing memories and doesn't remember this happened with Alice. Two, he wasn't sure it was real and thinks that was maybe a dream, because it does happen right after he's chasing Aemond / himself. And the third thing, and this is not story, this is production. I am wondering if this was a editing mistake or a continuity mistake. Like maybe these scenes came first. They wrote and shot these first, and then later they did the whole Alice and him in that kitchen thing, and she gives him the drink, and then he like wakes up drooling. Like maybe that part of it was inserted later. They did that like maybe some people did some test screenings and came back and it's like, wait, why do they know each other? Like you need to have some sort of conversation where you establish all of this stuff about like their relationship, because then it kind of comes out of nowhere, and then you get that whole scene where she like proves everything, and then gives him the totally weirwood paste. It's definitely weirwood paste. Like I'm not even gonna argue about this one. That was weirwood paste. And then maybe that's what's going on here, and they didn't go back to this episode and those two lines and fix them, because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Otherwise, you're like, we're gonna have to assume a lot of Daemon losing like a lot of time and not remembering like basic things about his interactions with Alice. Like, did he take that and then completely wiped out that entire conversation? I don't know, because they keep talking like they know each other really well, so it fits with that scene. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Another popular YouTube called it Shade. It's not Shade the Evening. Shade the Evening comes from Shade the Evening Trees. That's not what it's called. Whichever popular YouTuber said was wrong. This is an Essos. Does Weirwood Paste require any Jojen bits? Flesh from a magic person? Maybe. I've also speculated that the maester that ran in the night might be the bloody part of that paste. But yeah, could be. I don't know what to make of this. I don't like it either way. I don't like the idea that Daemon is straight up forgetting interactions that we saw him have. And I also don't like the idea that maybe this is a continuity error. So yeah. I don't really know. Kind of confusing. The more interesting part of this interaction is poor Simon. Love that guy. He's just being a good dude. Then we get the... Oh. Why are you out of frame? Come back down. There you go. Actually going to look at Alice this time. So the conversation between them, Alice more or less confesses here that she knows exactly the dream, that she talks about Viserys, and she says, let's see here. Is it not your way? It's your way, is it not? When something does not please you, you run. Dragonstone, the Stepstones, Pentos, Harrenhal. Boy, Alice knows everything about Daemon. That's weird. Again, this is either the question you got about Alice. She's either the most well-informed person in this kingdom that knows Daemon's biography and his innermost thoughts and desires down to a T, or she's a greenseer who's reading his mind. Second one is way easier to believe. Simon was dead all along. Oh no, it's American Horror Story. He's Tate. He's Tate Langdon. He's been dead this whole time. Daemon says, I wake and I do not remember where I've been, which is what happened here. He was apparently wandering, blacked out through the castle, woke up in the hall. And then Alice says this, there are older things in this world than you and I or living memory. Living memory is a line that Bran talked about in Game of Thrones season 8, that he's like the world's memory or something like that. You're not the player, but a piece on the board, as am I for that matter. So, this is kind of sort of confirming the idea that Alice is messing with Daemon for some large, prophetic, weirwoody, like grand strategy reason. She's not just messing him with them for the fun of it. There's a board that Daemon is a piece on that is being furthered by Alice screwing with his brain. Okay. Also that she's not, according to this line, she's only a piece on the board. She's not the player. Curious, curious line. It would kind of line up with the whole, is she the woods witch that came with Jenny of Oldstones to court idea, that she's trying to make a larger thing happen, I guess. Or like a Howland Reed idea. You know, the whole thing where he wanders in from the God's Eye and makes Robert's Rebellion happen through a lot of dominoes falling by getting his ass kicked by a bunch of squires. So yeah, these are some really spicy lines out of Alice. This is the kind of thing where I love that this writing team is doing, and it's something George is really good at too, where if you understand the reference, it gets you really excited. And if you don't, it's kind of curious enough to make you want to dig at more. Like, what is she talking about here? What board, what pieces? Like, older than you and I or living memory. Like, what is she talking about? We, the uber nerds that are watching this right now, and you guys that are watching this right now, understand she's referencing Weirwoods, Greenseers, prophetic dreams, all that kind of stuff. Maybe Three-Eyed Crow figure, maybe Bran, maybe Bloodraven. Like, very, very interesting. But it just kind of adds to her mystery. And Daemon says, I'm not like you. And Alice says, in some ways, no. You struggle to see there's an anger that blinds you. Which is, again, the message of what happened with Viserys in the dream he just had. His anger at being denied being caught by Viserys blinds him from being a good brother to him and could have saved his position at court, but he throws it away in anger. And there are tons of other examples. Sounds like something Mel might say. Yes, it does. I don't think she's Melisandre. but probably a similar archetype. Daemon goes, she never even wanted it, the crown, she spared it no thought. Alice says, perhaps that's why your brother gave the crown to her, perhaps those who strive for it are the least suited to wear it. And Daemon just yells back, don't lecture me. Really getting into the nitty gritty of Viserys here, Alice Rivers, somebody that supposedly never met him. And then Viserys says, then she says, Viserys never wanted, if you recall, it came to him and he did his best. It was not a prize to be won, but a burden to bear. Something I was thinking about while she was saying this. She was probably at the Great Council where Viserys was elected. It was held at Harrenhal. She's been there a while. She was there. Which makes you wonder, was there some manipulation in getting Viserys elected king versus Rhaenys? They were there for months, the lords. They set up like little towns, tents. They brought their court with them. They, like, hundreds of lords were all there, and they all got together and put Viserys on the throne. And Alice is talking about it like she knows the guy. Makes you wonder about that dream he had. The one about Aegon. Remember the one dream he had? The one about the, that he thought it was Aegon? The one about the horse beats and the sound of, like, shields and swords and stuff like that? Alice is a greenseer. She seems to know a fair amount about Viserys. She was probably there during the Great Council. Was he sleeping in a weirwood bed? Did Alice mess with his head too? It'd be really interesting if that dream that more or less started the dance came from her. Super interesting. And then Daemon, he just kind of is defeated at this point. He's like, yeah, you're right. Which is crazy because Alice doesn't know Viserys and doesn't know Daemon at this point very well and is completely accurately telling their relationship. And he just sort of like slumps down and says, if you need counsel for dealing with the River Lords, I'd be glad of it. And Alice says, Daemon Targaryen asking for help. Yeah, this might be the first time he's ever asked for help in his entire life. And he's asking it from the one person you should not ask for help from. The lady that's acting exactly like Larys Strong. Oh, yes, we're getting to the thing about the winds changing. Yes, we're getting there. Yeah, Alice all along. So she gives a history lesson about the Tullys and more or less says, if you want to control the Riverlands, control the Tullys. And Daemon goes like, yeah, I can't do anything about Grover. He's not dying. Oscar won't do it. What am I supposed to do? And he says, then there's nothing I can do. And she says, you know, puts out her arm, owl flies to it. And Daemon says, I need help, Alice. And she says, do nothing now. In 3 days' time, the winds will shift. And then she walks away into a dark tunnel with the owl still on her arm. Okay, so Alice is saying, one way or another, Grover will be dying in 3 days, which literally does happen. We get some explanation of how she made this happen. Let me scroll down to it. So this is the sort of thing where they're trying to add ambiguity to her story. Is it magic or did she just do something? Let me jump ahead. I swear to God, we're gonna get to the rest of the episode. So we jump ahead here. Daemon has been having a dream about Viserys, and this time Viserys is weeping over Aemond and his dead son Balon. This is the aftermath of him trying to save his wife. or trying to save his son because his wife was already dead apparently. That was the explanation they gave. And instead of being angry in a way, Daemon is instead there for Viserys, and he holds his brother and he says, "I'm sorry you need me. I'm here now. I'm here now." Devastating stuff. Love to see that. This is character growth for Daemon. This is not what he would have done at the time. It's really touching, and you really feel for him the feeling of regret that he really was not there for Viserys, and yeah, that one hurts him. But here's what happens next. I'm sure I'll talk about that more. Sorrowful news from Riverrun, my king. Lord Grover is dead. Daemon says the old man because he's super groggy because he was apparently passed out. Yes, Oscar Tully is now the Lord Paramount of the Riverlands. Daemon says with a weird smile on his face, "What was the manner of Grover's passing?" Simon says, "Well, he'd been ill, of course. Riverrun's maesters had been at their wits' end. Our own healer, Alice Rivers, volunteered her renowned skills. She plied her craft, but there's not more to be done." Simon has a weird smile on his face, too. A little bit of a smirk. And Daemon smiles too, and then he starts crying. So the implication here, if we're talking about Alice, is that she went to Riverrun and made sure that Grover died. She plied her craft, but nothing could be done. So, yeah, she killed him. She killed Grover Tully for Daemon. It's not... I don't think this one's meant to be magic. I think we're just supposed to believe that she did it. However she did it, overruled the maesters. The idea that she's a renowned healer is really funny. Renowned healer that nobody has ever heard of, that just pops up from the history books. The one woods witch that's in a castle. Just Alice Rivers things. So yeah, 3 days from now. Interesting that the language here, Simon didn't order her. Simon didn't say, "I sent Alice Rivers." He said she volunteered. So basically, she just went to Riverrun, and they said, "Yeah, sure, Alice, come on in. Oh, Lord Tully, he's not long for this world. What can you do?" And she's like, "Don't worry, guys, I got it. Trust." Alice Rivers is on top of this one. And then whatever she does ends up killing him. Shadow Baby. Interesting. Simon says it was just natural causes, so I don't think Shadow Baby, but whatever she did, probably poisoned him. Something like that. I was thinking a lot about why Daemon was crying after this happened. I start crying when a hot goth girl does something for me too. I think that emotionally he has been linking Grover Tully to Viserys. You know, the old man who's on the brink of death, and the heirs are waiting for him to die, and as soon as they do, like, they're going to take over and it's what they want, but Oscar kind of sort of stands in for Daemon, like the innocent side of him as a character, the part of him that's loyal to Viserys, that, no, of course I would never kill my grandfather, I love him. Daemon's the devil on the other shoulder going like, yeah, but it'll get you what you want, and what you want is the power, right? And Oscar is just like aghast and says absolutely not. And I think since that conversation, we're meant to understand that Daemon has been linking Viserys to Grover. And now he has, not literally, but emotionally killed Viserys. And he's like sort of feeling the grief of that. I don't think it has to make like a lot of like logical sense. Like, obviously, he did not kill Viserys. But you don't have to, it doesn't have to be literally true for you to feel it. Like, I remember a couple years back after my Nana died, I work a healthcare system, and I saw somebody that was similar to her, and kind of similar to what happened to her in the end. And even though it wasn't literally her, it still made me cry. And I think that's kind of what's going on here. Daemon is feeling guilt that he had a hand in Oscar Tully dying, and to him, that's the same as killing Viserys. A thing that he is now feeling terrible about after he kind of reconciled in his dream. Yeah. And he also feels guilty that he wasn't there for Viserys, that when he was, on his way out and the Greens took over at court and Daemon wanted to be his right-hand man and he couldn't. And he sort of feels like he let him down. Kind of probably feels like he let Viserys down here too. I'm guessing that's what the crying is about. It could definitely be his reaction to his dream, like thinking about his regrets of not going to talk to Viserys, but I think it's all kind of in there at once. Daemon's an emotional wreck at this point, and his emotions are being toyed with by a woods witch who sees him as a piece on the board, and she's using his emotions to kind of get him to do what she wants. What that is yet, we don't know. Yes, that's a good point, Derry. Daemon also went immediately into war mode on the death of Viserys, and may be the first time he's allowed himself to feel the grief. Yes, I think that's probably very true. He's just been angry this whole time, and now with the passing of Grover, he's mourning his brother. Like, finally. It's like, it finally, what did Alice say? Your anger blinds you. He let his anger with Viserys go away, and he finally felt the grief. Yeah, I think that's what's going on here. Good writing. I like it. People are like, oh no, this is ruining Daemon's character. Oh no, this isn't the Rogue Prince. It's like, I think this is great. I love the stuff they're doing with him. Let's see here. We've been kind of bouncing around. Oh, let's go back. I almost skipped over one of the funniest parts of this episode. We're not doing that. Jason Lannister and the Lannister soldiers. He shows up with a couple of lions at House Layford at the Golden Tooth. For those of you who don't know, the Golden Tooth is a hill that basically guards the lands between the Westerlands and the Riverland. There's like a particular hill and a road that's a really easy path between them, and if you control the Golden Tooth, you control that route. So Jason Lannister shows up, and House Layford is ready to go. There, he's like, I got 500 men. We're ready to march, my lord. Let's get going. Jason's like, cool your jets, Lord Layford. I'm not going anywhere yet. He's like, why? What's going on? And Jason said, I want you to send a raven to King's Landing. Tell my brother we're ready to march as soon as Prince Aemond is able to join us on Vhagar. And then Lord Layford says, and until the prince makes his answer, my lord. Jason says, my men have had a long march, most eager to embrace the hospitality of your keep, inviting himself and his 1,000 soldiers and his 7,000 or 14,000 archers and men-at-arms to party at the Golden Tooth. Oh shit, Jason is a piece. He's refusing the royal command to march on Harrenhal, saying, I'm not going anywhere until Vhagar shows up. Tywin more or less explains it in the next scene of him saying, well, Caraxes is still at Harrenhal. It's suicide to march on Harrenhal while Caraxes is there. So Jason's not wrong. He's just being selfish. And he's going to wear out one of his important vassals' good faith, I guess, by draining his castle of all the food and all the liquor, as he and his boys are just going to party it up at the Golden Tooth waiting for Vhagar to show up. I do not understand the lion thing. I think it's supposed to make us think that Jason's a moron, or kind of a goon. Which, yeah, he's acting like a pompous dick in this. Just Western land things. They changed the Lannister armor a little bit. And then Lord Layford's like, oh my god, what are we doing here? Look on his face like, I can't believe this guy is my lord. And I think that's an important thing to remember about this world is none of these guys have any say in who is their overlord, more or less. Choosing between Aegon and Rhaenyra and between Viserys and Rhaenys at the Great Council is basically the only time any of these guys get a chance to have any say in who they have to go to war for. And you can see Lord Layford just being like, oh my god, I wish we had Thailand. I wish we had anybody other than this jackass marching for Aegon. Yeah, House Layford's about to go bankrupt. No good things are going to come of this. And that's what he can do. He's the Lord Paramount of the Westerlands. He's the Warden of the West. You have to do what he says. Amazing stuff. Yeah, battle lions. I don't know what they're doing with them. It's really funny, though. I wonder if it's almost like kind of like a Targaryen thing where it's like, you guys have your sigil with you. I'm going to bring mine. I'm going to bring my lions. I don't really know. Things craziness. Love it. Jason's playing, I mean, it's the same actor playing Jefferson something, playing just the perfect pompous dick here. I think it's kind of funny that we're used to, from the main Game of Thrones, we're used to Lannisters that are doofuses or bad people in different ways, at least smart while being like bad people. Jason is not giving off, there's two lions just pawing at each other in his head, and those are the only things he's got going on in there. Then we cut to the small council room, and Aemond freaks out. He dares to summon me, the Prince Regent, with haste. It's actually really funny the way he plays this line, because Aemond has been played by Ewan Mitchell basically as incredibly controlled this entire time, except for when he's up trying to kill Luke. And him having to emote and show anger was like really came out of nowhere. It was like, ooh, you've got the whole soulless Terminator part down. Need to work on the the emotion part. Aemond not good at emotions. Do we know if Daemon's actor is cast? I don't know. I don't keep up with that stuff. They mentioned them a lot. Man, let's bring a tank full of mermen. Oh my god. What are those things called? Like the little shrimp things you can put in water? Bring in those. So we get to the small council, yeah, and yeah, Aemond's not having a good time, and he kind of like does this weird thing when everyone's talking. He like walks behind them and like puts his hands on their chair or on their shoulder. I think it's an intimidation tactic from him. Sea monkeys, there it is. Thank you. I think that's kind of what Aemond's getting at here. It's like an intimidation thing. His big plan is he wants to ally with the Triarchy in order to break the blockade. Why Aemond is not using Vhagar, they sort of said it in the last couple episodes that Vhagar's recovering from the fight. If you remember, Melee's got 2 big rips down her stomach, so Vhagar's not in good shape. So, I mean, that's the obvious solution, is get on Vhagar, go out there and roast some ships, but they're doing the Triarchy and the Gullet stuff here now. Everyone's like, boy, Aemond, not a good idea. Like, don't ally with the Triarchy. He's like, it's a good idea because I said it. I'm the Prince Regent. Get out of here. They are a stone's throw away across the narrow sea. Lannister and Hightower ships will take months to arrive. Triarchy will delight in the chance to terrorize the sea snake again. Let them weaken the blockade while true allies make their long journey east. Yeah, this is like super short-sighted of Aemond. The Triarchy has been at war with Westeros for like quite a long time now, and if you're ceding, basically, if you're treating with the Triarchy, you're giving up long-term trade because they're going to take back the Stepstones. They're going to take back the trade in the Narrow Sea. If you destroy the Velaryons, you have lost your eastern, your Narrow Sea Navy. So in the short term, this helps you with trying to get out of this siege that Corlys has put you under. Long term, that you are screwed. Making common cause with the Triarchy is a bad idea for the throne to do. Oh, thank you so much, Morley. Thank you for the $50. Holy shit. Mora, champ. Absolutely crushing it. And I think the more important part of this scene is Aemond is trying to clean house of the small council. He wants Alicent off the castle, basically ignores her while she starts talking. Just like completely ignores what she's saying about how it's a bad idea. Then he goes ahead and he orders Criston to gather his men and march on Harrenhal. Criston's like, hey, we lost a lot of men. We're not in fighting shape. Like, this is a really bad idea. Daemon's still probably there with Caraxes. He'll probably have river lords. And Aemon's like, don't care, go die, Criston. Get wrecked. Don't like you, which is interesting because the two of them had their super awesome plan about Rook's Rest. So why Aemond is basically trying to use Criston as bait and let him die, I think you can infer that the previous connection they had was entirely just to use Criston, that there was no connection there. The other one is that Aemond could be trying to get rid of people who knows he tries to kill Aegon. And getting him to march on Harrenhal with Daemon in the way is a surefire way to get him killed. I do this thing in Crusader Kings. Actually, that's one of the most popular ways in Crusader Kings to get rid of an heir if you don't want to end up with a murder on your name. You basically put them in charge of an army and suicide them into an enemy with like only one guy in it. And I think that's kind of what Aemond's doing here. There's no other reason for why he's trying to absolutely get Criston killed. It's got to be that he knows about him trying to kill Aegon and just trying to get rid of him. Also the thing, it's like, Criston asks, when are you going to show up and help? And he says, I will fly out to meet you when the time is ripe. Well, Aemond, you already messed up that once. Criston knows that he will be hung out to dry by you and left to die. So basically, Criston gets up and walks away and gives this little nod. And you see it later in the courtyard scene that he has basically accepted that Aemond has ordered him to die. Complete psycho. And then he sends away everybody and he calls back his mother. So they explain this better in the after the episode than this happens in the scene. The showrunners and the writers basically, and Ewan basically say that to Aemond this wasn't personal. To him, his mother has no role in the council, and just like trying to get rid of Criston, he's just kind of like clearing house. He wants his council. He doesn't want Aegon's. He doesn't want his father's council. He wants like a lean, mean group of people that will do his tasks, like he's the taskmaster or something. Alicent, I think, or Olivia Cook in this scene probably has a better read on it than what they explained, that she understands that Aemond is getting rid of her because she was not helpful to him as a child, that she was not a particularly good mother, and he apparently holds a grudge against everybody that has anything to do with him losing an eye and getting bullied. And I guess he took it personally when she was like, why are you obsessed with these dragons? Like, it doesn't matter, that kind of stuff. Aemond says, my father's dead and Aegon is, you served the well in a time of need. That need is ended. You are no longer obliged. Alicent says, it's not a matter of obligation. The council has a need of a tempering voice. Aemond says, we have more than enough of those, if you ask me. Alicent says, you have the impetuousness of youth and its arrogance, neither of which is to be desired in a king. Aemond retorts, I release you of your seat, such as it was. I'm sure you'll be much pleased to return to more domestic pursuits. Alicent then puts her hand on his face, looks into his eye, and says, have the indignities of your childhood not yet sufficiently been avenged? In the after the episode, what they said was this was Alicent more or less trying to find what remains of his humanity. That she feels that Aemond is totally lost, and this is her one attempt to try and get him back. And you can see he's sort of considering it. He even meets her gaze and has this like sad look on his face. He grabs her hand for a second, and you think it's going to be a tender moment, removes the hand, and walks away and says, you have the gratitude of the crown. So this relationship is completely busted. Alicent spends a lot of this episode trying to repair her relationship with her kids, that she understands that she literally says it is text when she's talking to Gwayne, that she worries she's been a terrible mother, that she's worried that she's made monsters out of her children. And she feels guilty of what happened to Aegon, and she definitely feels guilty here that she feels that she has failed Aemond. Yeah. Only doing this because of his childhood trauma. Yeah, that's more or less what they were saying in the after the episode. Condell and the director and writer, and even Ewan Mitchell said that this was like very just cold logic to him, but clearly not only. I mean, he doesn't spend his time with Sylvie having her pretend to be his mother because there's nothing there. There is something there. Let's go to the next one. So this is the scene that is the that Condell basically said after the episode that this was magical thinking, that this was a bad idea and she shouldn't have done it. Corlys has put on his hand of the pin thing. Doesn't really do much this episode in terms of being hand of the king or hand of the queen. They call in Sir Stefan Darklyn, and Rhaenyra reveals, she goes like, look what I found. This is really cool. I've been searching the family history, and I found that your grandmother's grandmother, Sir Stefan Darklyn, was Princess Rhaenyra? No, Ariana Targaryen. Ariana, that was the name. Ariana Targaryen. I looked this up. This is not a real character. Or it's not a character in Anywhere in Fire and Blood or the main books. They made up a cool name for it. Her explanation is, I think you've got a good shot, Stefan Darklyn, because of this drop of dragon blood, your grandmother's grandmother. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 generations back. You married a Targaryen princess married into House Darklyn. And Rhaenyra's like, do you want to give it a shot? And Stefan Darkland's like, absolutely, I want to give it a shot. I want to be a dragon rider. The dragon riders are gods. I'll do anything for you, my queen. Rhaenyra's like, ooh, you might die doing this. And he's like, I will die for you, my queen, anytime. This is going to be awesome. Everything's going to work out. It's not going to work out. This is not a good idea. Yeah, she's so hopeful. She so wants this to work. She is so desperate with the loss of Mainlease and Caraxes, that she's willing to try anything. This pipe dream, this was never gonna work. I mean, they tried with the wrong dragon anyway, but they didn't know that. But I actually thought, other than the insanity of this, of Stefan agreeing to it, the really interesting part was Lord Bartimos Celtigar. So Lord Bartimos, as soon as she says this, he goes, "Huh? What? What are you doing? Who's this dickhead you're gonna let try and tame a dragon?" So for those of you that do not know the deep lore, the reason Lord Celtigar did this, I can never remember if it's Celtigar or Celtigar. I'm going to say Celtigar, because I'm sure George says it wrong anyway. They are actually Valyrians. A long time ago, the Celtigars immigrated from Valyria to Cracklaw Point. And they've been ruling there ever since, but they were not dragon riders or dragon lords when they left, and they have gotten 0 marriages with the Targaryens, or really the Velaryons. As definitely the Targaryens, I'm not sure about the Velaryons since they showed up. And there are only the 4 Valyrian houses currently in Westeros, and one of them the Targaryens made in the Baratheons. So it has long been like, it's like a generational thing that the Celtigars feel pissed off that they've been left out of the whole Valyrian dragon riding, being a bigger part of this new Valyria part of Westeros thing. So when she offers a dragon to Sir Stefan Darkland based on a grandmother's grandmother, he loses his mind. He is really upset about this. This is just like one more brick in the wall, basically, for them. They want a shot. They want royal marriages. They want dragons. They should be first in line. They've been standing by the Targaryens since the conquest, and gets completely wrecked by this one. Yeah. So Caesar stupid K's are cool. Amazing. So that's what was going on here. That's why Bartimos lost his mind this episode. He's not angry. He is angry that Stefan is getting the chance to tame a dragon, but it's not because it's a bad idea. It's because it's not being given to him or a member of his house. That's what he wants. Now, that's not on the screen. That's something you're only going to pick up if you know about the deep history of the Celtigars and the Pinchy Boys, as they're known. But yes, that's what is actually going on here. That's why he's so mad. Ariana Targaryen. I think I saw somebody put a meme up calling using Ariana Grande. Amazing stuff. We already talked about the Daemon and Alice and Viserys stuff. Love Patty. Great to see him back. One, two, three, four. All right, here we go. So what's going on here is they have the Dragon Keepers. They're all out with torches, and apparently they're singing the same song that Daemon was singing to Vermithor. And I don't think they know which dragon they're calling. I think they just sort of stand there and start singing, and Seasmoke is the one that showed up. He's unhappy. He's kind of snarling. They yelled him to obey, to calm a bunch of times. They very quickly teach Stefan Darkline a bunch of Valyrian words. He says, serve me, Seasmoke. And unbelievably, for like half a second, Seasmoke was like, you know what, Stefan Darkline? I like the cut of your jib. We're all in. And lowers himself next to the little dragon runway thing that they have. And it's clearly from the body language here inviting Stefan to jump on board. And as he gets closer, I think the hints of what's going on is they do the dragon sniffing thing and the eye contact thing that we've seen a bunch of times going back to Game of Thrones, and now we've seen it like 2 times or 3 times now during House of the Dragon, where it's like the dragons can like sniff for Valyrianness or their bond to their rider. I don't know what they're smelling. If it's like Targaryen blood or something like that, I don't really know. But Stefan gets closer, is like right there, about to jump on, and Seasmoke says, nope, fuck you, and rears up and kills him and a dragon keeper who slits his throat as he's dying. Completely crazy. This was never going to work. Rhaenyra sort of sits there like in shock, going like, what have I done? I just killed one of my best men. Oh no, oh no. Drogon did that in season 8. Also, Rhaegal did it to Drogon, and Rhaegal both did the same thing to Jon. I don't know what they're smelling for. I think it's just, I don't think there's, somebody's gonna have to explain it at some point, but I think it's just like smelling for Valyrianness or something like that. What are the trainers gonna do at the sticks? Bop them on the nose like they're bad boys. Bad Seasmoke. But the honest answer is that they've been using these things on them since they were hatchlings. So they've learned to fear these stupid sticks just as like a memory of growing up. But yeah, Stefan Darkline gets absolutely roasted, dies, Dragon Keeper out of here. And then Seasmoke flees Dragonstone, freaking out, like, absolutely not. I don't like this guy. Screw that. I'm out of here. Then we get a... I loved this part, man. Oh, that makes sense. I was clicking on the screen up there. So hang on, let me get myself out of the way. I was going to move us down for a second. So, Alan Velaryon, Alan of Hall, Alan Waters, as he's probably actually known, is wearing a ridiculous-looking turban he's never been wearing before, and we're going to find out later the reason is he's pulling an Aegon V. He, unlike his brother Adam, he actually grows Valyrian silver locks like Corlys, and he doesn't want anybody to know about it. He doesn't want anybody to know he's actually Valyrian. He doesn't want anybody to know he's actually Corlys' son, because he doesn't want special treatment. And for him, it's some sort of like a rejection of Corlys. He shaves off the hair because he doesn't want the connection, more or less. I think that's kind of the message here. Corlys tries to name him his first mate. Alan is like, absolutely not. I don't want to be your first mate. Like, you've treated me like crap. You won't admit I'm your son, blah, blah, blah. Corlys is like, too bad, Lord. You're going to be my first mate on my ship. And he's just like, yeah, all right, whatever. I don't like it, but I'll do it. Yes, that's right. Darius read it before. Like, training an enormous dogs who think the stick will still do the same damage as when they were younger. Yes, they don't know the size they are. It's why you'll sometimes see dogs who have grown up to be massive will still try and fit in like the cubbies they used to sleep in. Like this stuff all, it's like a training technique. So the stick won't hurt them, but they remember it does, more or less what's going on. I think this is also I think I saw Aziz getting excited about it. Like, is this a pseudo confirmation of Varys being a Valyrian? We've seen it a few times before. Secret Valyrians shaving their heads so nobody can find them. Also, young Griff, he dyes his hair so nobody notices. Also, this was a dynamic I hadn't noticed before, but they brought it up, and I was like, oh, good call. Corlys only talks to Alan. He never talks to Adam. And Adam is bitter about it. And I think that's really interesting that Corlys only wants a relationship with Alan, and doesn't think anything of his other son. Won't even talk to him. So, Corlys being a bad, a bad bastard father? Well, he's not even their fathers. He's like their birth father or something like that. I don't know. He's not their dad. But even what little role he has in these in these guys' lives, he's doing a shit job at it. Alan is Corlys, Adam is Laenor's. That would be a twist. Of all the things they could do to Laenor, they could accidentally make him straight or bi for like one night. Will have nothing to do with him. Then we get to Ulf. It's Ulf time. Everybody get excited. Ulf the White. He's back. Ulf the Sot. We see basically a pantomime going on between Diana, the maid that Aegon attacked during season 1, and in the background, I didn't get a good shot, but that's Sylvie, the brothel owner, and they more or less put on a little show for everybody there. But I guess in particular, Ulf, we're supposed to understand he's a popular figure within the city, so maybe they're trying to get to him. Basically, they kind of make up, well, I don't think they make it up, but it's interesting. They say that the royals are banqueting every night and that they're partying all the time for the Prince Regent, and that's where all the food in the city is going, and none of it's going to the people. Meanwhile, they're eating fish, and more fish, and then awful bowls of brown with nothing in it. Imagine thinking that bowls of brown don't have enough in it to be good. It's called a bowl of brown because nobody knows what's in there. But yeah, Ulf gets manipulated here into basically starting to spread resentment about, and this is coming from Mysaria, of course. We saw Alinda Massey meet up with Diana in the last episode, who was now hooked up with Sylvie, and they are starting a rumor mill to start to turn the people of King's Landing against Aemond and his administration. It was actually kind of interesting that they're going after Ulf. And I love that they're doing it because I think it kind of shows something important about his character. That Ulf is a character who gets tricked a lot. He tends to fall for stuff. He doesn't think too hard. He just kind of goes on impulse. I don't think he has to know here in particular that he's being messed with by these people. Like, I don't think he has to like sit there and go like, what's your game? I think there's something amiss here. But it's setting up a pattern for him that he's going to get swept up by people telling him things that are maybe not true. Ulf's not that smart, is what I'm saying here. Ulf can be tricked. Why that's important? Haha. Keep reading. Yeah. There was actually a line here that made me laugh about this, where he said, no. Oh, it says, Sylvie says, my girls were taken to the Red Keep a few nights ago, feasting and merriment for the new Prince Regent. Very funny, you know she's lying, because Aemond only likes one member of her establishment, and it's her. It's not girls, it's Sylvie. He likes MILFs. That's Aemond's type, so we know that at least part of this is a lie. And Diana says back, no, and him always acting so correct. So it's interesting that Aemond has a reputation of being a good boy, that he's very much trying to break at this point. Let's see here. But Ulf completely buys the story. He's like, yep, I believe this. I'm unhappy with the Gruum. It's actually, if you think about it, if they're particularly targeting Ulf, they may have given him the worst bowl of soup ever, specifically just to mess with him, because they go after him pretty hard in this. He is like I said, he's a popular guy within the city. We saw that in his entrance. He's like giving everybody high fives like it's cheers on the way into the city. He clearly has some social clout, and he has a habit of running his mouth. So you tell something to Ulf, it's going to end up disseminating pretty fast. Yes, exactly right, April May. Ulf is who you go to if you need a story told to lots of people. Nailed it, exactly. Then we go back to Celtigar, or Celtigar, gets his ass slapped by Rhaenyra. He's not really talking about what's bothering him. And he's actually giving good advice, because Rhaenyra later acts on it. He's like, I tried to talk to Lord Mooten in order to get him to go take back Rook's Rest, and it was a stupid idea to get Stefan killed, and Rhaenyra turns around and just slaps the shit out of him. So they're both not really talking about what's going on in the conversation. Rhaenyra's not slapping him for telling him the idea about Stefan was stupid, and he's also not talking about why he thinks it was a stupid idea. This is a Valyrian cat fight going on, basically, between the two of them. Rhaenyra wants to be feared, not loved, she more or less says. She says, it is my fault you have forgotten to fear me. And she goes on to talk to Jace about how she thinks that her subjects will never serve her, because they think of her as their mothers and their sisters, and she needs to be more Visenya. So she decides to start with Bartimos and gives him a good slap. Definitely had it coming. He has been kind of an asshole for a while. It's surprising Alfred Broom didn't get this before she threw him out to go convince Daemon to come back. Basically a go die in the wilds, Alfred. I don't care if I ever see you again mission. Which of course you would understand. He basically got Kristen cold. That's what happened to Broom. Celtigar did have it coming. But I think it's interesting to understand what's going on beneath the surface. This is a slap that has very little to do with what he's saying right now, and more to do with his behavior. And the behavior of her entire council is embodied in one good rap across the face. Yeah. I don't know if he would have thanked her if one of his family members tried to ride a dragon and died, but I'm sure they would have liked the chance. And he's been one of her most loyal vassals. He has at least some money. He has reasonably good advice sometimes, but also he did the whole thing where he plotted to basically have her run away and run the war in her place. So he hasn't been like a great vassal. He's been kind of trying to take control. So he was trying to Denethor her, if that makes sense. So yeah, way to go. Way to go, Bartimos. Had that one coming. Oops, I didn't get a screenshot for this, but Rhaenyra goes inside and she picks up this sword, and we get the start of Yes, he's her master of coin, or kind of. I don't know if he is now, but he becomes it later. But anyway, Rhaenyra goes back to her room and picks up a bunch of swords and kind of like waves them around, like, "Ooh, I like the way this feels." Mysaria comes in and reassures her, and basically, obviously, she heard about what happened, and says it was worth the risk no matter the outcome. Mysaria's like, Stefan went willingly, like this was his own choice, and she's like, it was a stupid idea. I threw away his life. And Mysaria says, there's got to be other people that can try. And Rhaenyra's like, who's gonna try now? Now that they know they can die, and that one didn't really ring that true to me. Tons of people are gonna try to ride a dragon, knowing they will possibly die in the process. Owning a single dragon, like you pick up Vermithor, you can be a Lord Paramount if you want to be. It is absolutely worth the risk in this world to try and ride a dragon, even if you have a very low chance of getting it. And we hear about how the plans have worked. Apparently, Mysaria has already heard back that the little game that she's playing with Ulf and the rest of the people of King's Landing is working out. Cool. Rhaenyra once again goes like, what's the point of this? Like, it's not going to bring down Aemond. And she's like, well, make it a lot harder on him. If the people outside the walls of the Red Keep are super unhappy, it becomes difficult to leave the city and do anything. So it's like, yeah, good point. And this is the start of the eventual leading to the kiss here thing. Mysaria says, if I may, your grace, this becomes you. And Rhaenyra goes like, and puts it down, but she's clearly quite taken with the compliment. She likes being compared to Visenya. She likes how it looks on her. That ends up being a part of the thing they talk about. Good stuff. Laying it down. Yes, good question in the chat. Sanrixian saying, would you try and tame a dragon? Also, I was wondering about that sword. It looked like Valyrian steel, but they don't have another one. It definitely had kind of the Damascus steel look they put onto them. I'd have to go back and look again, but it looked like it. I was curious about that. Remember, if you fail at taming a dragon, you die. So, just throwing that out there. That's Darkland's sword? Oh, interesting. Huh. I would not have picked that up. Then we see the seed that they planted in Ulf is working. A sheep cart goes by with all the sheep for Vhagar, who's recovering. The city's completely out of food. We see Hugh's wife there, and they have no food for the day. And then the cart rolls by, and the line goes, got enough sheep. This is what Ulf says. Got enough sheep for your dragon then, but none for us. Where's our meat? We want meat. This is setting up that we're leading to a food riot pretty fast. Way to go, Mysaria. You did it. Wow, not as many people voting yes as I thought. Only 68%. That's kind of impressive. Interesting stuff. Some people that value their lives out there versus becoming gods. It is a choice. Then we go to the small council, and this is the Larys getting owned scene. So I was talking with a friend about this, and basically what's going on with this scene between Aemond and Larys is that we've seen that Aemond's already clearing house, and he doesn't like Larys. He calls him a flatterer and a lickspittle, not realizing the very real value that Larys offers as a spy master. Like, he has it's kind of interesting here. Larys has done his job so well that Aemond doesn't know that he's sitting there because of Larys's efforts. And completely dismisses him. He says, I have no patience for the self-important Lord Larys, and even less for the flatterers and lickspittles. Awful. And then he baits him and makes him think he's giving him the handship. And he says, no, not to serve his hand you towed to fetch him. Send word to Otto Hightower. My grandsire may be overcautious, but his devotion to his family has never been in doubt. And then goes, you'll see it done. Larys is embarrassed. Jasper Wild's having a great time. He's like, ha ha ha, Larys got owned. I don't like that guy either. But there is a problem here. Aemond, he doesn't fear making an enemy of his mother, more or less. He feels that she's out of power and has nothing left to offer. He's wrong, but he also lumps in Larys with this. And this is a very, very dangerous character to publicly piss off. He hasn't done anything to Aemond yet, but that doesn't mean he's not gonna now. And I talked about this when we talked about the Aegon and Larys scene earlier. If he had made friends with Larys, he didn't have to give him the handship, but if he had just not embarrassed him in 2 straight meetings, Larys is the guy you go to make sure you end up king and Aegon never wakes up. Instead of Orwyle, who will drug Aegon, but he's not going to kill him. Larys would do it for you. Not great. Also, if you guys could slam that like button for me. It's been a little while since I said it. I have no idea how many have so far, but all of you that had, thank you very much. Subscribe if first time here. We're going to try and get through these a little bit quicker because my voice is starting to go. And I got videos to record this week. Then we get to the awful, awful Aegon and Aemond scene where Aemond basically presses his hand and the small council ball into Aegon's open wounds and says, what do you remember? And Aegon, knowing that Aemond is basically threatening to kill him again, says, nothing, I blacked out. I don't remember anything. Don't kill me, Aemond. Please don't kill me. I know you already tried to. Please don't do it again. More or less is the subtext of what's going on here. And then he gives him the story like it was Men in Black, and he gave him the flashy thing. He said, you challenged Meleys, it was foolish. Is that what happened? Is it? Oh, hello, Ali's Hobby Log. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Is there a Joe Magician Discord? Yes, there is. You can get access to it by becoming a member on the channel or by signing up for Patreon. And then you have to link your Discord account to either a YouTube or Patreon account. Either one will get you access. Also the Patreon Slack, which also exists. I've been maintaining both of them. And on his way out of the room, Aemond stops Orwyle and says, it seems my brother has a long recovery ahead of him, Grand Maester. See that he is made to rest comfortably. More or less giving Orwyle orders to drug him with milk of the poppy as much as he can so that he will basically not wake up for quite a long time. And hopefully he will die. So yeah, Aemond's trying to basically secure his position. Again, you could have asked Larys to do this for you instead of Orwyle if you weren't being a dick. But anyway. Next up, we already talked about the Vale stuff. We talked about at the very top of the episode, Nettles and Rhaena. Clearly they're setting her up for a Nettles role to take Sheepstealer if Nettles hasn't been cut. So, it's going to pass that one right by. Then we go to Spice Town. And we got a really good scene here between the brothers. A shame we don't get to see Adam's famous goat stew, I think he said it was, with carrots. That sounds pretty awesome. And the conversation goes like this. We see that Alan is shaving his head because he actually has Valyrian white hair like Corlys. And Adam confronts him about, Corlys is trying to make you first mate. He's trying to raise you up. Why are you resisting it? And Alan said, he's ignored us his entire lives. We've lived in the shadow of Driftmark, of High Tide, our entire lives, and he's not lifted a finger for us. He hasn't done it before. He's not going to do it now. This will basically just lead to more pain, which is a very... I feel for Alan a lot here. He's been burned clearly so many times, waiting for Corlys to lift him up, to make him his son, to do anything, that he's like a he's like an abandoned dog at a pound, basically, where he doesn't believe that love and good things will happen to him anymore. He's been abandoned, gotten his hopes up too many times. Adam still has hope. Which is good for Adam. But yeah, Alan's right. Corlys wasn't going to do anything while Rhaenys was alive, and Laenor. And the whole thing with Joffrey, Luke, and Jace. There was a lot of things that had to go right for them to be even anywhere close. Yeah, feel real bad for Alan. Yes, that's right. Cutting his hair is a way of removing Corlys from his life rather than being rejected time and again. Exactly right. He shaves his hair not just to disguise it, but to, yeah, remove any reminder of Corlys, which actually tells you that when Rhaenys complimented him on his good looks, that probably actually hurt Alan to be reminded that he's like Corlys. Which is a little note that sucks even harder. But yeah, I love this scene. Go back and watch it a bunch of times. The acting is great. The messaging is great. What they're doing and how that relates to each other, awesome stuff. The two guys killed it in this one. Then we go to Dragonstone. Rhaenyra's on a balcony and talking to Jace. And he asks, yo, why'd you hit Bartimos? What did he do to make you want to pull out his tongue and slap the shit out of him? And Rhaenyra basically admits it wasn't about what he said. It's that she's tired of being treated, even by her most loyal vassals, which I'm not even sure he counts as, but close, I guess, at this point, as an idiot who doesn't know what she's doing. I have tired of being protected, Jace. I bring to mind too much their mothers or their daughters. They must see me in me a ruler, and the symbols of authority are not jewels and gowns, but the shield and the sword. And Jace is like, no, that's not true. But Rhaenyra is not going to be... but he also says, will you lead us to war yourself, kind of in a mocking tone, meaning he sort of agrees with them, and Rhaenyra takes that really hard. And you can see here that she's kind of making amends with the fact that she knew that Lord Celtigar wasn't completely wrong, because she has done his mootin to take back Rook's Rest plan. So she understands that she was wrong in thinking he was being a complete tool. He had good advice. Then the other thing that happens is at the end of it, Mysaria comes up and says their plan's ready to go. Jace is like, what plan? And Rhaenyra is like, get out. Not, she doesn't say that, but she intimates it, and he goes off in a huff. He's not being allowed inside the secret circle. 150 likes, Radon Head. Thank you for the $2, Mallory. How many likes are there? I can't see it. Oh, 169. Hey, 169. Why couldn't I see that? I'm having a bad streaming night. Roxana, do we think he refused the position Corlys offered because of his worried about being accused of nepotism or pride and strong spine? I think we're supposed to read from the second scene between them that he doesn't want any connection with Corlys. That is being forced on him. That he does not want to hope anymore that that he doesn't want to. Okay, let me say this. How do you say this? It's like he doesn't want to get close only to have his heart broken again. Clearly, Corlys has broken his heart a lot of times in his life. I think that's the explanation. Oh, I almost just timed out Mallory for 10 minutes. Oh boy. Rat is right here. Brynden the albino rat, as a result of a bet with Joanna Robinson of The Ringer. I'm not putting on the hat. I don't want to put on the hat. I got a good hair day. I'm very vain. So the next part is we see what the plan is. They have put a whole bunch of food on ships and sent it into Blackwater Bay for the peasants to get. The idea here is, so this is part 2 of the plan. Part 1 was to spread rumors that the Greens are holding out food. Rhaenyra delivers food and causes riots. Pretty good plan here. Also, I found it really funny. I posted this on Twitter. I don't know where they're getting all this food from. If you remember from Game of Thrones, Stannis notably got roasted by the Iron Bank for having no food, no crops, no meat, basically, on Dragonstone. And here they are with like 4 Whole Foods worth of groceries on their way in. I don't know where they got it from, but it was great. I like any opportunity to show Stannis wrong. That's what I'm about in this life. Then we go back to Aegon and Alicent. Alicent, without anything to do on the council, has basically... she's trying to spend more time with her kids who might have a shot of listening to her. Orwell basically admits here he's doing what Aemond said, that he's drugging him, so he's only awake 1 hour out of 10. So, not great news that he's on board with the keep Aegon unconscious as long as he can plan. We hear here the start of the whole thing that nobody can find Otto Hightower. He's apparently turned into a Batman. It's kind of crazy. I don't know what they're getting at here. Nobody can find Otto. Nobody knows where he is. He's like lost in Reach. I don't know if he's like in jail. I don't know if he's like going to show up with a secret army. I don't know if he's going to show up like Batman or something like that. But nobody knows where he is. Which was... we also... here we go. Lyman Beesbury fans, rise up. Here we are. We hear from Orwell that there's war in the Reach. Why is there war in the Reach? Because House Beesbury has attacked the Hightower troops. Also, in Fire and Blood, we learned this is like 4 or 5 houses, mostly led by the Beesburys, but it's a whole bunch of Reachmen. As soon as the Hightowers start marching towards King's Landing, they all pounce on them, finally the opportunity to kill a bunch of Hightowers. Because, spoiler alert, nobody likes the Hightowers. Not even the Reach. Everyone thinks they're dicks. Got food from the blockade. Ah, you're probably right. Damn it. I wanted to prove Stannis wrong. Ah, good call. Good call, Scott of Greywater Watch. You solved that one. Ugh, I'll have to find a way to make Stannis look foolish otherwise. But yeah, we learned the Beesburys are rising up. Hive. Lyman Hive. Let me get some buzzes and bees in chats for House Beesbury and Lyman Beesbury. The one guy that should not have died during the Green Council. Loyal. House Beesbury, Lyman Beesbury, loyal. Great guy. Thank you for the bees in chat. Bzzz. They're literally a hive. The Lyman Hive. It's amazing stuff. So the other heart-wrenching part here, Alicent is saying she's sorry to Aegon. She says it twice. She's really trying to make amends with her kids. She knows she's done a not a great job raising them. All the bees in chat. Thank you very much. Lyman appreciates your support in these tough times. And this actually gets to... I know you guys are probably going to think, Joe, your favorite part of this episode was probably everything having to do with... I can't really get them in frame. Hang on a second. All right, so we're just going to push them down here. You're probably saying, your favorite part of this episode was everything having to do with Alice and Larys, right? Actually, sort of. This interaction between Gwayne and Alicent was probably my favorite part of the episode. I think it was awesome. Freddie Fox and Olivia Cook absolutely killed it. The conversation, both of them really brought more to it than the words on the page. You could feel the heartfelt sense of loss of their childhoods being ripped away. This was awesome. This is like peak A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones writing right here between the two of them. I like the Larys and Alice stuff and the stuff with Paddy Considine and Daemon for different reasons, but this was awesome. They did such a good job here. Also, again, with talking about... hang on a second. How Criston Cole... I guess I am Alicent now. I am the Queen Dowager. Criston knows that he's been ordered on a death march to Harrenhal. So do all these men, and by extension, Gwayne does too. Which is kind of like the somber tone behind it. This is kind of like Gwayne and Alicent saying goodbye to each other. Which is... like brutally heartbreaking because it's Aemond who's doing it. Her son is basically going to kill her brother and her, I'm not sure, lover, main squeeze. Really great stuff here. Alicent walks up and says, Gwayne says, well, I found you. I wish to give you my blessing. And Gwayne goes, well, thanks to the Queen Dowager. And it's like, ooh, that one had to hurt. Alicent asks if Gwayne has heard from their father, and Gwayne basically says, I never hear from our father. You're the only one he likes. And it's interesting to read the bitterness between them. I guess Gwayne's really gone through some stuff since Rook's Rest and back, and sort of reevaluated his life and the meaning of it and how he feels about his relationships, and come up basically being like, boy, did this suck for me. Let's see here. Otto Hightower is ever resourceful. He will send news when there's news to send, meaning he doesn't talk to Gwayne, which is... And they sort of talk about it. Alicent's like, I often wonder what life could have been if he had brought you to court instead. And Gwayne just sort of like drops his shoulders and says, I'm the eldest son. It was right. I was raised at Old Town. This is what I mean by Freddie Fox really adding a lot to this. That line itself, you can read a lot of different ways, but the ways he plays it is that clearly he shows regret at not being favored enough to come to King's Landing. That he really feels passed over by Alicent, which is excellent in an inversion of the way that what has happened to Alicent with Aegon and Rhaenyra. Like, it's not just at the top of the throne, basically. These feelings of resentment of who should have what is reverberating all the way through the kingdom. Let's see here. And I think the most heartbreaking line of this was Gwayne says, Alicent says, you were 8 years of age and motherless. It must have been difficult. And Gwayne just kind of goes, you get on with it, don't you? Like, life goes on when there isn't any choice. Alicent kind of feels that dagger coming back at her. and says, "My son Daemon, what's he like?" So, oh, that one hurts. Having to ask her brother what her son is like. That he has stopped writing to her too. That she hasn't seen him probably in a decade or more. She's been so wrapped up with being the Queen Regent and, you know, the Dowager Queen and trying to run King's Landing. And much in the way that Otto wasn't there for her, she has made no time for her kids. She has made no time. We've seen that Aegon, that relationship is bad. It's worse with Aemond. He is basically freezing her out. Helena, there's like not even really one. She's trying to develop it. But for Daemon, it's just like there's nothing. They're basically strangers at this point, and that is harsh. A harsh realization for Alicent. And we hear that Daemon's apparently great. He's 10 and 6. He's stalwart, clever, adept with his lute as he is his sword, so the man can play a tune. Rhaegar stuff going on here, apparently. If he could play a high harp, he'd be in business. Features in the fancies of many young lady, and that he's kind. That's what Gwayne's summary. The most important thing, the thing that Freddie Fox emphasizes, is that Daemon is kind, which makes you feel terrible because this is another kid about to be destroyed by this war. Daemon's marching with a dragon and the Hightower troops. He's about to go through hell. This apparently awesome young man who has had a good upbringing and is happy and enjoying himself at court is about to have his life ripped to shreds by the ambition of the Greens. Another Gwayne Hightower in the making, basically. Oh, super chat from Caitlin Fegley. $2. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Off topic, do you think she looks pregnant? I don't know. I haven't studied the deep Alicent tummy lore to know if she is, but she could be. They had her drink the moon tea, so she's worried about it. It'd be interesting. And then also another terrible line where she says, Gwayne says, "You did well to send him to war. It seems the Red Keep, for all its privileges, may in fact be less than," I couldn't catch this word, sobriant, something like that, for forming young men. And Alicent, with like a heartbreak in her voice, says, "Was it the court or the mother?" And Gwayne like actually connecting with her at this point because they're more or less saying goodbye to each other. It's what's happening here, like trying to find some sort of emotional connection. Says, "I'm sure you did your best." And he says, "I must join Sir Criston. Wish us luck, sister." The way he says it is he's saying goodbye to her. This is it. That's true, not app. Her insinuations of her child rearing skills was truly gut-wrenching mostly because what happened had nothing to do with her. Yeah, Alicent was also failed by the generation before her. Otto turned her into a weapon. He made her into a turbo court lady. He was trying to make her into a way to seize the throne instead of raising a daughter. And unfortunately, she visited the same thing on her children. She doesn't know another way. Salubrious, is that what he said? Salubrious. Okay. I didn't catch the word. But yeah. I find it sweet that even it says a lot about Gwayne as a character, I think, that he knows he's being sent on a death march. He's being sent to die with Criston at Harrenhal and Dragonfire. And it's Aemond who did it. Gwayne knows that. It's his own nephew that is sending him to die. And Alicent is confessing that that she feels she was a bad mother, that she made Aemond into who he is, that he has no kindness. The inversion of Daemon, basically. Daemon is kind, Aemond is not. And even in knowing that's the interaction going on here, Gwayne still finds a way to try to console his sister, which is very sweet of him. He doesn't have to do this. He could be pissed off. He could be angry at her. He could be resentful of what's happening. Instead, he finds it in him to be a decent person to Alicent, who is feeling an immense amount of pain at the moment. I mean, he's about to feel a lot more, from probable dragon fire. I mean, it's going to be fish feed, but as far as he knows, he's about to die by Caraxes. So, yeah. And also we see Alicent and Kristen give each other a nod like, I'll miss you when you die. A little sweet moment between them, showing that they are not quite as broken up as they seem. Yeah, my voice is giving out, so we're going to run through the rest of these pretty fast. Helena has one line in this episode, more or less, and she says, she's playing with her bugs, and she says, this one stopped singing, isn't that strange? So I was racking my brain. What could this mean? One of her bugs stopped singing. Because everything with Helene is a stupid code to figure out. Well, not stupid, but it is. They're using it as coded messages for the future, and what is she talking about? I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. One of her bugs no longer sings. Maybe Daemon's gonna die because we heard about him with playing the lute. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't really know. I don't know. Sound off in the chat. What does Helena's bug not singing mean? Did she already miscarry? I'm not sure. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look. Moon tea doesn't always work. Maybe not. Who knows? Then we go to the dog. The dog lives. Hugh finds the dog. He finds Cheese's dog. Gives him a little head ruffle. I posted this on Twitter, and some people were like, "Ooh, I was worried about that dog." Yeah. When they run out of food, sometimes domestic animals start getting thrown in bowls of brown. Hugh's pretty desperate, especially for his daughter. Ooh. May have been thinking about eating that dog. Gross. Oh, it's a different dog? I thought it was the same dog. It looked like the same dog to me. And then we get the food riot. Basically, everyone has grabbed all the stuff from that Rhaenyra has sent in, and there still wasn't enough to go around, and people were grabbing as much as they could. So Hugh beats the crap out of the guy, just gives him a left hook or a right hook, and steals his bag of vegetables and runs away with it. Different dog? Oh my... Okay, fine. Different dog. I thought it was the same one. I didn't look that closely. $2 from James Chan. Thank you so much. Haven't heard any good quotes like Game of Thrones. Let's see here. I think Freddie Fox's line, Gwayne's line about him describing Daemon was a great line. I think that was awesome. And they really, the acting elevated it too. Larys's speech as well to Aegon was fantastic. That was great stuff. So those would be my picks from the episode. The cabbages, oh my god. This one just made me laugh. So what's happening isn't funny. It's outside Baelor's Sept. They went to go pray. Alicent says she wants to light candles for lost souls. And the crowd has basically... The food riot has continued throughout King's Landing. And they find... Apparently somehow they find out where Alicent and Helena are and start swarming the Sept. The Kingsguard come and get them, and they make them like run out and go and get into the carriage to run away, basically trying to protect Helena and Alicent. And instead they call her the Queen of Fishes and hit her in the face with a fish. Like That fish explodes when it hits her face. It's one of the craziest things I've seen. I also wasn't trying to get this specific screenshot, but damn did I get it at the right time. Amazing. Just look at that thing explode. Incredible stuff. Sometimes freeze frames look stupid. This is beautiful. If you see anybody posting that picture anywhere, that's my work. I did that one. Let's see here. The crowd is basically cheering for long live Queen Rhaenyra. They're saying that a whole bunch of times. The Aegoons are there, and they make a proper mess of everything. One of the guys actually gets close enough, and I think grabs Alicent's arm, and I think cuts it, because we see a cut on her arm later. And one of the guys takes out his sword and lops off the guy's hand. Here we are. Also, we have panic because Helena is freaking out against the wall, and Alicent face plants, just like goes straight down. And then we see, I'm not going to leave this on screen for too long because the last one got limited ads because of the Alyssa and Daemon scenes. The guy that grabbed Alicent's arm, I think, got his hand chopped off, and I instantly went, Shepherd. It's an older guy, loses a hand, and it's the greens that cut it off. I think we just got the Shepherd. It was conspicuous that they cut his hand off. Just saying. Might be the start of it. Makes me laugh every time. The senior Kingsguard member, I'm not sure which one it is, actually gets them to the carriage and gets them away from the riot. But we see that at least one or two of the Aegoons dies during this. They start taking out their swords and just start killing people. The crowd reacts and pushes them to the ground and starts stabbing them. So at least some of the Aegoons are now dead. At least one, maybe two. Boy, Aegon really screwed this one up by putting just some lick-spittle dorks on the Kingsguard. Yeah, I think that's definitely the Shepherd. There's also a good line where the Kingsguard guy says, "Run them down if you must, ride, ride." Good stuff out of the Kingsguard. We talked about the Larys scene already. Not going to go over that again. Talked about this one. So we're just about done. Been going for, oh my god, way too long. The stream has been going on way too long. So this will be the last. We'll do a little bit of Q&A, but this is the last scene we haven't talked about yet because we already talked about Mysaria and Rhaenyra quite a bit. So Seasmoke, after killing Stefan Darkland, we've seen him already circling Adam of Hull, or Adam Velaryon. We can just call him Adam Velaryon, and kind of like feeling him out. Kind of like vibes of, I saw you cross the bar and I liked your vibes. Did I say Seasmoke? Yeah, Seasmoke. Definitely Seasmoke. Has been kind of like feeling out Adam, but not really feeling it. Like, but interested. Definitely interested in Adam. So basically what happens is after killing Stefan Darkland, apparently Seasmoke has had enough without having a rider and decides he is not going to wait. He's going to get one. Seasmoke, the aggressive dragon, apparently, finds Adam out on the beach and chases him down and makes Adam fear for his life. You can see it here. He's scared the entire time. He thinks Seasmoke's about to kill him. And it turns out Seasmoke's actually saying, like, want to be friends? I want to be friends with you. Let's be friends. I mean, like, this is working, isn't it? Like, Me and you. This is a thing. Seasmoke and Adam. I love a good Velaryon. But yeah, I've never seen anything like this in the rest of A Song of Ice and Fire. This is like completely about Adam. Loves Adam. Can't get enough of him. Like sees him from the air and he's like, I'm coming for you. And more or less forces Adam to become his rider. Didn't even want to try. If you're going to get a dragon, this is the way, where the dragon is basically just being like, you're my rider. Like this is how this works. There's no guesswork here. I'm not gonna jump scare you and maybe kill you. Like this is a thing. It's gonna work out. So this was a question I got earlier in the chat, and one that everyone's going to be talking about quite a bit. So the problem that's happening here is that no dragon in the history of A Song of Ice and Fire, House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, has ever had two riders at the same time. Generally, it seems to be that the rider has to die before they get a new one. And no rider has ever had more than one dragon. It's a 1-to-1 thing. So Laenor's still alive. We saw him in season 1. He Gendry'd his way off the show. He's in Essos somewhere. As far as we know, he's not dead. So nobody knows how this works. It kind of flies. Either Laenor is dead in Essos and we're about to find out about it to explain this, which would be a smart drop-in, I guess, but then why would you keep him alive to begin with? If you're just going to kill him later to free up Seasmoke for Adam, probably should have just killed him at the time, like story-wise. And it just feels kind of weird to delay killing him until now just to explain it. And the other way is that apparently Dragon Bonds is not 1-to-1, at least within House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones, which is its own separate thing from the books. We're meant to understand that a dragon can have more than one rider while they live, apparently. He released it Pokemon rules. Yeah, something like that. He's Corlys's son. Yes, Adam and Alan are Corlys's sons. So those are your two options, basically. Laenor's dead somewhere in Essos, or this is just a new avenue of dragon riding to learn about in the Dragon Bond. That's all you got. That's the only explanation. Although this is something I've been thinking about quite a lot. Adam has the same problem as Steffon Darklyn. So the problem with Steffon is that he was apparently, well, I guess Seasmoke didn't like him and he likes Adam. But Steffon Darklyn's connection to Targaryens is like a grandmother of a grandmother. That's more or less the relationship Adam has to the Targaryens. Because the Velaryons have not gotten that many Targaryen princesses married into them. But they have married their own daughters into House Targaryen a lot. It's been a one-way street, more or less. The only known Targaryen that married into the Velaryons was like 4 generations ago. It's like Corlys's great-grandmother or something like that. It's like, I think it's like Aegon the Conqueror's like aunt or something like that. It's a long time ago. So the cover story in Fire and Blood is that Adam gets to tame Seasmoke because the story is he's Laenor's son, therefore his dragon riding gene is coming through Rhaenys. But it's always been in Fire and Blood pretty heavily hinted at he's not Laenor's son. That it was Corlys's all along, and that after Rhaenys died, he basically acknowledged his own bastards, because Laenor is famously quite gay. and not interested in women in the slightest, which is the same thing that happens in the show. So Adam, like the Velaryons are Valyrian, but not dragon riders themselves. They never have before. So Stefan and Adam basically have the same amount of Targaryen blood, but Adam gets ambushed by Seasmoke and forced to become a rider, and Stefan dies. So there's a lot of levels of like how does the dragon bond actually work? The answer is who knows. George has said in a post that he's going to explain it more in The Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring. I'm sure he will when those come out. Yeah. Who knows? It's hinted at pretty clearly in the show that they are both Corlys's. Both of them talk about Corlys being their father, and it's their mother Marilda. So, yes, that's the other explanation, is that it came through their mother, Marilda the Mouse. I think that's how you say her name. No, you're not supposed to believe that Laenor is their father, especially not in House of the Dragon, where him and Rhaenyra as teenagers had that very frank conversation about like, ooh, yeah, we're on different wavelengths, and that he had like lovers all the way back then too. So, it's unlikely, to say the least, that Laenor had 2 kids out of wedlock. 1 baby, 2 is kind of pushing it, and also they're about the same age as Laenor, so it like the age difference also really doesn't work. That's more or less the thing that happens in Fire and Blood, is like, not only is it that Laenor is not interested in women in the slightest, it's that Alan and Adam are probably too old to be Laenors, or very much so. But anyway, so yeah, there's an open question here. How is Adam able to do this? We don't know. The blood side is questionable, going back to Corlys's like great grandmother or something like that, or it's through Marilda, who hasn't been introduced at all, or it just doesn't matter. And I don't know. We're gonna find out, I guess. Seasmoke, yeah, is just all about, he loves Adam. It's his favorite guy. So yeah, anything I haven't gotten to, throw into the chat. If you guys haven't seen it, by the way, I released a video today talking about, is Alice Rivers a ghost? I mean, obviously not. Definitely not after this episode, where she gets name dropped by Simon and she goes and kills Grover Tully. So she is 100% not a ghost. She is real. But I also sort of knew that was coming, so I threw in a section talking about Daemon and Harrenhal and how to understand what's going on with him. I talked about it a bit during this stream, so it's not just that question. I go into what the show is doing with Daemon and the haunted house aspect and what you're supposed to get from it. Question. Do you think Adam's brother brought back a dragon horn from one of the voyages? Adam blew it and it got Seasmoke's attention. I think if Corlys or Alan had a dragon horn, Corlys would have blown it already to try. That would be my thought. I don't know. They just sort of made it like Seasmoke homed in on Adam and said, "You must be my rider." It is literally magic. Could call Curtis Franks. Yes, correct, Maggie the Frog. Corlys is now going to legitimize them, especially after Adam has proven to be a dragon rider. Helps out his family quite a lot. So in theory, Daemon could ride the Vermithor as well, I guess. at least Caraxes could have more than one rider, apparently, if Daemon ignores him enough, is the explanation we're getting. Oh, super chat from Tommy Downs, $5. Thank you so much. Do you think Larys messed up by being overzealous with Aemond and wanting handship? I think he misjudged Aemond and thought he could manipulate him like he does Aegon and Alicent. Aemond is a little bit too suspicious for that and too like emotionally closed off. So I think he may have underestimated how much Aemond would see through his normal chicanery. But Aemond also screwed up by underestimating how effective and how dangerous Larys is to make an enemy of, more or less. But thank you for the super chat and good question. But yes, I think both of them kind of screwed up that interaction, but Larys is much more dangerous. Maybe you don't need Valyrian blood at all, says Scout of Greywater Watch. Just don't tell the Targs. I mean, there was a point where somebody tamed the first dragon. I know Amanda, or Crowfoot's daughter at Disputed Lands, has a theory based on Sept and Barth's stuff that they made them. And certainly the song they sing implies there's some kind of spell that makes the Targaryens bond to their dragons, but it might be that it's more likely, less than you're the only ones that can. That's sort of the Nettles question. Like, maybe being a Targaryen and a Valyrian makes it far more likely that you can tame a dragon, because Rhaena is like the only one I've ever heard of that has been unable to tame a dragon, and that no Targaryen has ever gotten hurt trying to tame a dragon before. So Darkling getting roasted is kind of a new thing. It might be that being a Targaryen prevents the dragons from harming you, and it makes it more likely to tame them, unless that it's impossible for anybody else to do it. That may be the true explanation, or something close to it. I will admit I am blatantly ripping off Crusader Kings 2. That's how the dragon buff works in that game. If you're a Targaryen lineage, you get like a 10,000% bonus to tame a dragon. But it would make a lot of sense. It would allow you to allow for people like Nettles, while also explaining why the Targaryens get them at such a high rate. Let's see here. Seasmoke might know that, April May says, Seasmoke will definitely know when Laenor dies. He might already know. He's been kind of freaking out for a few episodes. That may be the sign that Laenor is dead in Essos. That he all of a sudden Seasmoke got really upset. So that may be what we're meant to understand. I don't know. It would have made sense. If you're just going to kill him later, you may as well have done it at the time, I guess. Have I done an Origin of the Maesters video? No, but I did do a video I did a stream about them a while back, about Archmaester Marwyn, and I did talk about the origin of the Maesters. If you want to check that out. Actually, could one of the mods grab that stream, the Marwyn stream? I talk a lot about the Maesters in there. Semia, do you think Rhaena can't tame a dragon because he already bonded with her egg, and that she might have dragon dreams that Dany did in Game of Thrones, that could lead to a dragon egg hatching? If they're making it so that there can be more than one rider and partner, I guess, then maybe she's gonna hatch morning anyway. But they seem pretty hard. They seem pretty on track that they're gonna give Rhaena Sheepstealer. But of course, we don't know Nettles has been cut. So there's still a possibility that's going to happen. I've been shown behind the scenes stuff that shows the dragon seeds jumping up to get up there. And there's somebody that looks like Nettles, but you never know. They could have cut her. They could have not. But yeah, it could be that, or they could make it so that one of the other kids hatches morning. Maybe they'll make it so Viserys does it or something. I don't know. I agree, Maggie the Frog, that that was probably the reason. Um, the they didn't want the social backlash of killing Laenor in that way, which is makes a lot of sense. I understand why they would do it that way. But if they're just gonna kill him later, off screen, like just basically as a plot element to allow Adam to get Seasmoke, I'm not sure it's any better. If you're thinking about it that way. Rhaena has 2 hatchlings, one that dies years ago, and then Morning hatches. Oh, there you go. I forgot about the first one. True, Carl Karsnark. Not all Targs automatically get a dragon. There was Vagon, the dragonless, who didn't get one. Yeah, there seems to be some kind of variance to it. There's also the idea that the Targaryens tame dragons because they don't let anybody else near them. The dragon seeds really exposes the idea that maybe more people can do this. Or you don't need to have quite the level of extreme incest to make this work. I mean, certainly characters like Jace, Luke, and Joffrey all are pulling it off, and even the High Towers. So Aegon, Aemond, Helena, all getting their dragons. And they've diluted the Targaryen blood quite a lot in the last few generations. So they're seemingly like going right at the line of how much you can have. The dragons are getting smaller with each generation, so they aren't exactly thriving. I have a problem with that. Okay, so that's a thing they say in the books. Like, the dragons are getting smaller, like, none of them are really getting to the same size. But dragon size is age, right? Balerion's was really big, Vhagar's really big, Vermithor's really big because they're old. Like, Vhagar's like 150 years old or something crazy like that. Balerion was like 160, 170 or something like that before he died. Vermithor is pretty old too, like 100 years old at this point. They say the dragons are getting smaller. I think the dragons are just dying young. A lot of them die young. And so it's like, are they smaller? Yes, because all the older ones are dead. So I think there's a little bit of nuance in the whole the dragons are getting smaller thing. Hatchlings are small because they're young. Balerion, Vermithor, Vhagar are big because they're old. Anyway, that's like a Twitter thread or something at some point. I'm just going to argue with a bunch of other book nerds about that. I mean, Vermithor's basically the size of Vhagar, not even that much smaller, and like 60 years younger or something like that. So I don't know. I don't think that's a hard and fast rule that they are getting smaller. Vermithor and Dreamfire over 100. Yeah, Dreamfire is the second oldest dragon at this point. I think it goes Vhagar. Well, okay, no, third, because it goes Cannibal, Vhagar, one of those two is the oldest. Then it goes Dreamfire, Vermithor, Silverwing. Those are the oldest ones at the moment. Sheepstealer is like after Silverwing, I think. Yeah, Christina Keetle has a, I hope I say that, has a spreadsheet of dragon sizes and agrees they are not, and ages, and she says they're not getting smaller. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're getting smaller. I think they're just not living very long because, you know, they're dying. They're being killed. Anyway, yeah, I gotta get going to bed. I have to work in the morning, and these pipes aren't doing so good. So anything last in the chat, throw it in there. Otherwise, thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. Sorry about dooming the first stream. I won't do that next time. What is Alice's endgame? I do not have the vocal cords left to answer that question. All we know is that she is playing Cyvasse or chess. She is not. She is doing something to Daemon for a larger purpose. I don't really know what it is. She hasn't explained it yet. There's only guesswork. Yeah, Balerion was over 200 when he died, so yeah. Actually, even Cannibal's pretty small, but he's also a wild dragon. Wild dragons are smaller in general. Yep. What do I do for work? Not YouTube, unfortunately. Maybe I'll get there one day. Fingers crossed. Anyway, yeah, I'll talk to you guys next weekend. Look out for at least one video coming out this week, hopefully two. More shorts and stuff. If you enjoy the content, you know, there's memberships here, which gets you access to behind the scenes stuff and like exclusive content, which will be coming out more after the season ends, or same stuff on Patreon. And both of them get you access to the Patreon Slack and the Patreon Discord. So, yep. That's it for me. I'll talk to you all